All right. All right, everyone, it's 7 o'clock according to my clock. Yep, for 7:01. Great. So I'd like to thank everyone coming. We are gonna, so we need the mayor, because I believe she has the flag for us. Back on. So Mayor, can you join us? All right, hold on one second.
There she is.
Oh, there she is. Ah, awesome flag you got there, girl. All right. Okay, so at this point in time, everyone turn your mics on and stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. All right.
Yeah.
Everybody turn your mic on. All right, so I pledge allegiance
Allegiance
to
to
the
flag
flag
of the United States of America,
to
the republic
for which it stands,
to stand
one nation,
under
God,
indivisible,
liberty and justice for all.
like we need practice. Okay, and also if we can remain standing for a moment of silence for all of those that have been lost over the month. Thank you. Okay, the meeting is officially open. Councilwoman Billups, can you give us a roll call vote? Or a roll call of attendance of yes.
Councilman Tunis,
Good afternoon, Upper Darby.
Councilwoman Billups is here. Councilman Silva,
present.
Councilwoman Blackwell,
Councilwoman Blackwell, you gotta turn on your mic and come back. You gotta turn on your mic.
I'm here. Blackwell is here.
thank you. Councilman Green,
Present.
Councilman Burke,
Present.
Councilman Siddiq,
Yes.
Councilwoman Faralia,
She's excused.
okay. Councilman Barnett,
present.
Councilman Wagner,
Here.
and Council President Wentz.
Here.
All present and counted for except for Councilwoman Faralia, who is excused.
Great. Cool. Sorry, I'm shifting my position. Okay, great. So also want to acknowledge that we have CAO Rangione, Mayor Keffer. We have Municipal Clerk Alexis, I'm sorry, and Superintendent Bernhardt. We also have our Treasurer, David Heyman. We will have some others joining us from the Fair Districts. I will introduce them when they come on. They're going to come on just to answer any questions that council may have in reference to the Fair Districts resolution when we get to it. They're not doing any presentation or anything. They're just going to be here to give us some information. We also have Solicitor Kilkenny and Solicitor Richardson with us as well. Okay. Okay, I don't think I understand one. Okay, great. So rules of decorum. Upper Darby Township and Township Council and residents will maintain professional respect for each other. Council encourages free speech. However, civility is required, which would prohibit threats, profanity, scandalous, impertinent, and redundant comments, or any comment the discernible purpose of which is to disrupt or prevent the conduct of business of the meeting. Great. Okay, so at this point in time, we are going to take a motion to approve the minutes from our committee meeting on July 1st, 2020. Can we get a motion to approve? Turn your mics on. I see, I saw Tunis and
I'd like to make a
Blackwell.
motion.
And Blackwell. Great. Any questions or concerns on the minutes? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, say your name. Okay, ayes have it. Can we get a motion to approve the minutes for the regular council meeting on July 15th, 2020?
I make the motion to approve.
Okay, so
Seconded.
great. And Sadiq, so it's been moved and seconded. Any questions or concerns on these minutes? Seeing none, all those in favor of approving the minutes for the July 15th, 2020 meeting, please signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say your name. Ayes have it. Unanimous. Great. At this point in time, we are going to begin our public forum. Allison, if you can join us. For the public comments, Councilwoman Billups will do the timer for 2.5 minutes, and I will do a timer for 3 minutes so that we have the proper timing action. So yeah. All right. So, and Councilman Billups, are you ready? You need to leave your mic on so that we can hear your alarm going off. And everyone else turn off your mics. Okay. So yeah, everyone else mute themselves. All right. And I'm gonna mute Sadiq and Bennett for the moment. Okay. Great. Okay, so are we all set? All right, and go.
Peggy Braden Wilson, 824 Drexel Avenue, Drexel Hill. I've heard a lot of concerns about the loss of the tank. During the county council meeting on August 5th, the director of county emergency services said that they are deploying emergency vehicles around the county. The municipalities agreed to house them and maintain them and deploy them to other municipalities if needed. The bus that took residents to the shelter is an example and is being housed in Chester. These are non-military vehicles and do not carry weapons. Emergency services will provide the equipment the municipal law enforcement identifies as needed. This includes life preservers, ladders, ropes, force shields, etc. The vehicles include Ford F-250, Ford F-750, and Chevy Tahoes. So far, Haverford Township, Chester Township, and the city of Chester are part of the program. Are we part of the program? It would put to rest the issue of the rescue vehicle. End of comment.
I can just quickly, I have been in contact with the county emergency services unit and director, Tim Boyce, and it's a relatively new program, and we are on schedule to be a part of it.
Great, thank you. Great. Okay, cool, thank you. And go for the next.
Janice Heyman, 727 Stanbridge Road. Sorry, I apologize.
Okay.
While I would have liked to see more transparency regarding this action, I do support the removal of the tank from Upper Darby. A weapon of war that is used as a symbol of military force and intimidation such as this has no place in our community. Our focus needs to be on building bridges in our community, not turning our police into a military force. Also, I support the ordinance that would decriminalize small amounts of marijuana. It keeps people out of jail, saving taxpayers money, and frees up the police to concentrate on more important issues. Thank you to the mayor, I know, the township workforce, and the council for your hard work. Yes, I will try and pull out anything related to your ordinance in the future. End of comment.
Great. Thank you. Okay, cool. Cancel. Okay, and go.
Bart Everett's 7543 Parkview Road. I'm writing to thank the mayor and TWU Local 234 for taking quick action to ensure our sanitation team was safe. Expecting the inconvenience of 2 weeks without pickup, I was glad to hear a backup plan announced before the weekend, and furthermore, to have the option of dumpsters for those who wanted this. Living through the 2020 pandemic has been hard on everyone, and it's a credit to this administration that the biggest inconvenience we faced as residents is a delay in trash pickup. I also want to thank the council members who posted frequent updates about the situation. I'd also like to thank UDTJ, the local racial justice organization, for quickly organizing a cleanup of 69th and Market Streets to make pickup by the substitute sanitation workers easier, allowing them to focus on residential areas. Instead of complaining or venting on social media, these young folks took action that benefited the entire community in a time of crisis. Thank you to Mayor Keffer, Council, and to all the UD residents who have stepped up to get us through this unprecedented time. End of comment.
Great. Okay. Okay, and thank you for writing that comment. So, all right, and go.
Kira Rapolitis, 309 Windermere Avenue. To Mayor Keffer and Council, we are all facing some hard times, and unfortunately, hard times can bring out the worst in people. After the recent floods and COVID-19 outbreak, you have become a convenient target of some people's frustrations. I hope you can recognize human nature for what it is and know that you're not actually at fault, neither for climate change, hurricanes, and decades of building in floodplains, nor for a highly contagious virus. You've done an excellent job under the pressures of a perfect storm of nature, the pandemic, and a nationwide economic disaster. Your work is much appreciated. Specifically, thank you for the quick response to the flooding of Marshall Road and the Bond Shopping Center. Thank you for quickly and efficiently finding an alternate way to collect trash. And thank you for communicating your plans on your public pages so that we know when to expect pickup. Thank you too for continuing with long-term goals, specifically with getting rid of a military vehicle that has no place in a civilian setting, for decriminalizing marijuana, for beginning the process for a community center, and for supporting a fair district's resolution. Please continue your hard work for the township and know that your efforts are appreciated. Hard times can bring out the worst in people, but they don't have to. Hard times can be a chance to unify for the good of our community. End of comment.
Thank you. Thank you for your comments. Okay, great. And next, sorry, oops, start, go.
Gerald Harrison, 29 South Kirkland Avenue, Upper Darby, PA, 19082. As a 17-year resident of Upper Darby, I'd like to express my appreciation for having dumpsters made available to residents who are willing to protectively line their vehicles and drop off their own refuse. I've been using the one at Naylor's Run. As though trash pickup hasn't been made difficult enough because of the pandemic and the flooding, it has been further strained by having our hard-working sanitation crews out of service and placed on quarantine. So in the face of these dire and unprecedented circumstances, I want to say, job getting done, as well as I could expect during these very difficult times. My hopes that all will go well for the quarantine crews, and again, my appreciation to the administration for being flexible and continuing to make adjustments as needed. End of comment.
Great, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Harrison. Sorry. Okay, and next.
Bonnie Hallam, 4719 Woodland Avenue, Drexel Hill, PA, 19026. I'd like to start my comments by reminding us of what the purpose of our Township Council is. Our Home Rule Charter says the following: the legislative branch of the government of Upper Darby Township shall consist of an elective governing body, which shall be known as the Upper Darby Township Council. As used in this charter, the word council shall apply to the legislative body of Upper Darby Township. It goes on to say, council shall have the power to make and adopt ordinances and resolutions consistent with this charter, and to prescribe fines and penalties for the violation thereof. Over the years, I've expressed many times that our council meetings should not be a forum for partisan politics. When I want to praise or criticize what this administration is doing, I periodically go to the government Facebook page. I'm not a fan of Facebook, so I don't go often, but sometimes I need to get information out to the public about community events. So I do see that people use this forum to let their feelings be known about the administration. People who are opposed to this administration and people who support this administration go back and forth with each other. In a way, I think this back and forth of detractors and supporters is kind of inane, ridiculous, but If there's any place to let out your frustration and your partisan feelings, that is the place to do it, not at council meeting. This is, again, not a place for partisan bickering, whether veiled in subtle language or explicitly expressed. Our council meeting public forums have become an extension of a Facebook page with supporters and detractors countering each other. I hate this. Our council meeting public forums should be a time to bring real problems you are having in your community to the public, not your approval or disapproval of the administration. The current administration, like the former administration, will do what some people think are good things and what some people think are not such good things. This is how democracy works. We elected this administration, and we should give them an opportunity to do what others have done in the past. Some good things and maybe not some not good things. This is to be seen and debated on Facebook, not in our council meeting public forum. If you have a problem that you think council can solve, bring it to them. There are many of them, and using the public forum for critiquing the administration just keeps people with real problems from having them addressed. Thank you, Bonnie Hallam. End of comment.
Thank you, Ms. Hallam, for her words. And it's not the first time she's asked council to keep partisanship outside of council meetings. So thank you. Okay. And next, go.
LJ Steinig, 7543 Parkview Road. Dear council members and Mayor Keffer, I wanted to take a moment to thank you for your hard work and decision-making re the trash pickup. It can't be easy having so many sanitation workers under quarantine due to COVID-19. Thank you for doing your best to keep them safe and the community safe. We know you're doing the best you can in a difficult situation, and it is appreciated. Thank you, LJ Steinig. End of comment.
Thank you. Great. All right. And next.
Rachel Mitchell, 732 Harper Ave. Dear Township Council, I want to take this time to thank you for your extraordinary efforts to protect your staff and the community during this very challenging time. You have had to make plans in times that none of us have ever seen before. I would like to commend you and your staff. As we continue to face these challenges, I would like to let you know that many in the community are here to support your efforts. Sincerely, Rachel Mitchell. End of comment.
Okay, great. Thank you, Ms. Mitchell. And next, go ahead.
Michelle Fitzpatrick, 908 Roberts Avenue, Drexel Hill, PA. Dear Barbara Ann, Vince, and council members, I am beyond upset about the mishandling of the trash situation in our township. Barbara Ann and Vince both knew in plenty of time to come up with a plan on how to provide this prepaid service to the residents of Upper Darby. This morning, we finally had our trash picked up after 18 days. During your NBC News interview yesterday, you claimed to be only 1 day behind, which is a lie. You are causing a health crisis in our community. A few of you don't live in this township, so I'm sure your family is not affected by this crisis. Providing dumpsters in 2 locations for 84,000 people is atrocious, and having hours of 8 to 2:30 Monday through Friday is not convenient for working families. What is even funnier is that I can vote and not show a state-issued identification card, but need to for throwing out my trash. At a minimum, you should have placed dumpsters at every public elementary, middle, and high school. The majority of families could have walked/dragged trash cans to these locations without putting maggot-infested and smelly trash in their own cars. Personally, I have a child with medical issues and would have needed to fully clean and sanitize my vehicle. Are you going to reimburse me for this? Oh, did I mention I paid my garbage and sewer removal bill? My next concern is the fact that our mayor has decided to stop issuing permits for our community parks/fields for sports. You are now hurting the children of this community. Our children benefit from organized sports. It teaches them about community, teamwork, perseverance, and strengths, their minds and bodies. What is your reasoning for this decisions? Barbara Ann, when you ran for mayor, you said your campaign was about transparency and the residents of this township. Really? When will we see these promises? Finally, you are dismantling the UD Police Department. You were caught on video telling everyone that you were getting rid of our SWAT team, removing military-type vehicles from the fleet, and retiring our canine unit because the dogs are scary looking. Do you realize that 69th Street Transportation Center in Upper Darby is on the terrorist watch list? You are putting the lives of this community and our police on the line. If, God forbid, anything should happen, I hope you can live with your poor decisions. Michelle Fitzpatrick, end of comment.
Okay. Anyone want to respond to any of that? Go ahead, Vince.
I don't know. I mean, there was a lot there. I completely understand people's frustrations. The dumpsters were just part of the plan. They were an option for certain people who could use them. They weren't intended to be comprehensive. Obviously, we understand that not everybody could get there at the times that they were there. As far as the school properties go, I mean, people sometimes don't realize that we don't control the school properties. So it's more involved to use those properties than you might think. Let's see, what else?
We're not dismantling our police
Oh,
department.
right. I mean, we're not dismantling our police. Obviously, God forbid, we don't want to see any bad things happen. I think the resident means that the 69th Street terminal is on a list of potential soft targets. Not that it's on the watch list itself, so to speak. And that's certainly true, and it's largely patrolled by the SEPTA police, are primarily responsible for that facility, although it is in Upper Darby Township. Yeah, so that covers a bunch of it at least.
And also, just to clarify, the comment on our canine unit, we have talked about it in a previous meeting. We did talk about possibly adding another dog to our currently 2 dogs that we have. So I just want to clarify that our canine unit is well liked by our administration and council. So, just want to.
Yeah, there hasn't been any discussion at all whatsoever of getting rid of the canine unit.
Okay. Councilman Wagner, you were raising your hand. Did you have a comment in reference to the residents' comment as a response to the residents' comment? You got to turn your mic on.
Thank you.
There you go.
Yes, I'll be brief now. This entire subject needs extensive discussion at council, and it can't be done in sound bites. It should not be done the way you're doing it right now, in responding to a resident's frustration. First, Vince does that, and then you helpfully sort of aid him along. This needs an extensive discussion. We have all got to realize how much this has upset our entire population of more than 80,000 people. I have a motion to make about it. I don't think this is the appropriate time to make the motion. I'll do that at an appropriate time during the meeting, but I'm going to be seeking an investigative hearing into this entire matter where we can take evidence under oath, because that's the only way that we can get to the bottom of this. We owe it to the people of Upper Darby. That lady who just offered that particular comment is just an example of what I know I've been hearing from numerous residents of the township in my district, and what I'm willing to bet a lot of other people have been hearing too. I'm not willing to accept representations by the administration right now about it. I don't trust them, quite frankly. And my point of that is that we need evidence, not offhanded comments that have no backup, that have no evidence to support them or evidence to refute them. Testimony needs to be taken under oath. I'm going to be making that motion. Madam President, if you prefer for me to make it now, I will.
No, you did point out this is not the appropriate time. We are in public comment, and we are responding to a public a resident's comment, in the past, if we did not respond to their comments at the time that they made them, they would then be upset with us and send us a letter on why didn't you respond. So I have been intentionally trying to respond to their comments as they come in so that they do have some answers to their questions. So that is the reason why I have responded the way I have, and that is the reason why I had asked CAO Rangione to answer some of the questions, because they pertain specifically more to his role as CAO of our township.
All right, I'm simply going to ask you and Mr. Rangione both, and the mayor, if she weighs in here, to keep in mind, our population is distraught over this problem. People have been cleaning maggots out of their garbage pails and chasing rats from their driveways. Please keep that in mind when you dismiss their comments as breezily as so far we've been doing.
We're not dismissing their comment, but we do have to make sure that we keep our responses more specific to theirs. So at this point, I see Councilman Net. I just want to verify that you're responding to the residents' comment and only the residents' comment.
I am, President.
Okay,
Lynch.
thank you.
Mrs. Fitzpatrick is a resident of the 1st District, a constituent of mine. She has spoken with me personally.
Okay.
Also, I have heard, much like Councilman Wagner has said, from countless numbers of people distraught about the conditions that were left as a result of a lack of plan in place to deal with what was a very inevitable eventuality that someone among our staff of workers would in fact come down with COVID-19, causing the impact that it has had. And it wasn't thought through. It wasn't anticipated, and a plan wasn't in place. We had to scramble at the end to make something happen.
Excuse me,
in fact-
Council President, I feel like this is a point of order. I feel like he's responding
Don't
to
stop
a
me
cacophony
speaking. I have
of
the floor, please.
It's a
third-hand
point of order.
comments,
No one's
not
stopping
this,
me.
this,
This is not
residents.
an issue.
Council,
Sorry,
hear the hammer. That means it stops, okay? A point of order has been called. So we deal with the point of
So you're
order.
going to you're going to put me in a position where I cannot complete my comments? Is that what you're doing?
Your comments do
You're
not.
taking
This
away
is the
my
time
right
for
as a
public
council
comment.
to
This is
reflect.
for
My
public
point of
comment,
order
and you're going beyond.
I'm talking
what the
about
person
the,
has said.
I'm
You're
speaking
going
about
beyond he
what
said.
my constituent has said, and I'm supporting her position
We've
and
had
with
7
facts
residents that
about
have already
what other
All right, we're
people-
talking at the same time. No one's hearing. This is not good for the
Yeah.
public, okay? So
So
if there's a
this-
point of order, can we recognize it, please?
yes, recognizing point of order, please
Point
read
of
your.
order is the
please-
wrong procedure. If you want
It
to
is not.
call the question and
Would
with
a
the motion
citizen
of
like to
council,
how
you
can we
can
call
do
the
that.
question, Don? It's a public comment. Excuse me, Councilman Bennett. My point of order is simply that the council president asked you if you were referring specifically to Ms. Fitzpatrick's comment, and then you went on to a general discussion of what you've heard from several people or residents or what have you. I imagine when council is discussing things, that is a more appropriate time, but she is asking if you were specifically speaking to Ms. Fitzpatrick's issue, and then you went on to a general tirade about things that were what have you. That is what
I'm
my point of order was for. I don't feel like that's out of place.
Fitzpatrick's comments with supportive data that reinforces what she has had to say.
So.
Move on. Move
Yes.
on.
Thank you. We're going to move on. All right. Allison, are you ready?
Laura?
Yes, Brian? Councilman Burke?
Yeah, I have a question for pertaining to Ms. Fitzpatrick's question. She used the word permits. Was that for the parks, that we weren't issuing permits for the parks? Is that what I'm understanding of her comment? I'm not
Yes.
sure.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. That's all.
Okay. Okay, so Allison, and go.
Andrew Heyman, 8309 Edmonds Avenue, Drexel Hill. Good evening. Tonight, I'd like to address some unreasonable and frankly irresponsible behavior on the part of some of our elected officials. Some of you have criticized this new administration for their handling of various matters related to the COVID-19 pandemic. Frankly, some of your concerns seem more like the politicization of a global pandemic. This 6-month-old administration literally just took over from a 150-year-old patronage machine at the local and county level. Then they were faced with the worst pandemic in a century that has so far killed hundreds of thousands of Americans. After that, they were faced with the worst civil unrest in half a century. Then they were hit with arguably the worst flooding in at least a quarter of a century. These are not challenges that the previous administration has faced, and I've absolutely no confidence that the people who decry COVID as a plandemic, or the people who think that this is as mild as the flu, are also the ones we need to lead us through it. On the subject of that, I find it very interesting. Some current elected officials who currently support Donald Trump, the man who called this their new hoax, who repeatedly said it was going to disappear by Easter, who said that it was almost gone, and the man who still has no national strategy to handle it, dare to criticize this administration for supposedly putting staff in danger. Please forgive me if your outrage seems phony. Perhaps maybe you could actually do something and help instead of playing armchair general from the sidelines. Try being patient and appreciate that this administration believes in science. There are no good options during a global pandemic. There are only the least terrible options. Please be patient and give the administration a chance. Maybe you can actually help be a part of the solution. Thank you for your time. End of comment.
Okay. Hold on, I'm sorry, I lost my timer. Oop, there you are. Okay, and next.
Jim Burrows, 447 Hampshire Road, Drexel Hill, PA, 19026. I am writing to express my outrage at the mayor, CAO, and council's inept response to a natural disaster followed by a sanitation stoppage. Our township was hit by a hurricane/tropical storm on 8/4. A day later, the council met and no one hinted that our sanitation services were going to stop. However, the mayor, CAO, and select council members knew for a week that this was a likely scenario. You purposely withheld this information from the public until after the August 5th council meeting. As a consequence, we are still trying to dispose of flood damaged material weeks later. Many residents have had no trash pickups at all. To add insult to injury, the mayor and council always seem to have time to meet with a handful of teenagers around town for photo ops. But they have never had time for the adults of this township that own homes and businesses, i.e. taxpayers. You should have had PEMA and FEMA involved immediately, as you are obviously in way over your heads. Our residents need action. If you are unwilling to help our homeowners and businesses clean up after a major natural disaster, resign and let someone else get the job done. At this point, I don't know what day is trash day, and I continue to store waterlogged materials on my property. The stench is breathtaking. Get a plan to help residents clean up all of flooded materials and trash. We need results. P.S. Praying for our workers' safe recovery. End of comment.
CEO Rangione, can you give us some word on the water, the flood trash that, furniture? We haven't been collecting the furniture and so forth that were affected from the floods. Will they be able to put that out next week? Should they call for bulk pickup?
Yeah, sure. So they will be able to put it out next week, and in some cases, we have been able to collect a lot of flood trash in some areas. So we had the front end loader and the dump truck over at Veronica Road, for example. So it's certainly true that not all the flood trash has been able to be collected yet, but they will be able to put it out next week and do bulk pickup again next week. and we have started to collect some of it, and just using, again, Veronica Road and the front end loader as one example of how we sort of attack that.
Should they reach out to the request line to request a bulk pickup for the future?
It's definitely helpful if they reach out to the request line and let us know their address and the type of trash that they have there. Bulk pickup, they should really schedule through the actual township website. It'll work through the request line, but it's not really the most efficient way to schedule a bulk pickup. The most efficient way is through upperdarby.org and going through the public works portion of the website there.
Okay, great, thank you. Did someone else want to respond? I thought I saw. Okay, great. Okay, so Allison. Sorry. Oh, there you are. I'm sorry. I lost you for a second. Okay, and go.
Christina Brady, 46 Ashby Road. First off, thanks for quarantining the sanitation department. I can't fathom the logistical nightmare that followed it, but I won't forget that you did the uncomfortable thing in order to keep the community safe. What a calamitous, super spreading event that could have been. You guys are mitigating risk as much as possible while still arranging for trash to be picked up. I think the calls for patience have been well said, and I'm sorry that some of my neighbors are less appreciative of these efforts. Some of the vitriol I'm seeing on Facebook and other forums is really appalling. These are impossible times. I take solace in knowing that while my national government is disorganized and not taking cohesive action, my local government does all that it can, making tangible strides in things like restructuring the police force to be more community-based and not just bloated with military equipment, also condemning gerrymandering and decriminalizing marijuana. I've been more proud to have moved to this community every day since I landed last spring, and this is solely due to your progressive and inclusive efforts. Christina Brady. End of comment.
Great. All right. And go.
Ryan Draving, small business owner, 46 Ashby Road. To our mayor and town council, I couldn't be prouder to be living in a town where our mayor is following through on the pledge to look closely at police policies and reaffirm that the lives of our most vulnerable populations, including Black lives, are worth protecting. This is evident both in decriminalizing marijuana and demilitarizing our police force to reduce the use of excessive force. Please continue to stand for all of us. Thank you, Ryan. End of comment.
Great. Thank you for those comments. I'm sorry, I didn't comment on the last two. Thank you very much for residents for your comments. Okay, and go.
Susan Donahue, 395 Maple Avenue, Drexel Hill, PA. I'm wondering if you can share without blindsiding your constituents what the future plans of the police structure will be. As taking away special weapons and tactical plus military truck in the current climate across the country is personally stating a mistake. Terminal is level 2 threat, not to mention being a drug hub as seen in a documentary of Philly and drugs. Also, a large high school campus and active shooter situation will now be left patrol not specifically trained. I would appreciate some answers soon, as I feel the dismantling of our police is a disservice for citizens left with less protection as we sit on the doorstep of Philly. Thank you. End of comment.
Okay. CA Rangioni, did you want to respond, or if superintendent would want to respond a little bit to that?
Yeah, sure. If the superintendent wanted to weigh in, he could. But if I'm happy to say, I mean, we're not in the process of or considering the dismantling of our police department. I think that's just a little bit of a misnomer, and the superintendent can give us more details. But the policy, procedure, and protocol around active shooter events has really changed quite a bit. If you go back to the Columbine shooting, which is probably sort of the beginning of the modern era of school shootings, if that's the appropriate way to say that, police arrived on the scene, established a perimeter, and then waited for the SWAT team to arrive, and that proved to be disastrous and unwise to have to wait on the perimeter while the SWAT team arrived. So the protocol has actually changed, and now all officers have active shooter training. It's not actually a SWAT specific skill or training. All officers go through that training and are trained to advance toward the threat rather than establish a perimeter. So yeah, I think that sort of addresses part of it. I don't know, Tim, I saw your camera came up, so Superintendent, if you wanted to also weigh in.
So yes, exactly. The SWAT team has not been dismantled, I will say that. And as far as the active shooter goes, we have all of our officers who are trained in active shooting, as well as our SWAT members. And we have been in communication with other departments that surround us. Most importantly, Haverford Township, who has a vehicle, which is a Bearcat, if we were to need that. But as far as the school and the size of the school, all of the officers are prepared and they are trained. God forbid if that were to happen, the active shooter.
Oh, the other thing that I would add is that nationally, the statistics indicate that about 4 out of every 5 SWAT deployments are to serve either an arrest or a search warrant on a dangerous suspect, often a homicide suspect or a high-level drug suspect who's already suspected in violent crimes or suspected to be armed. So more than 80% of the time that the SWAT unit is deployed is to serve either a search or an arrest warrant on a dangerous subject. And it's more than 80% in Upper Darby in recent history in terms of SWAT deployments. So that's really the primary capacity that we're talking about when we're talking about the SWAT team.
Great. Thank you. Thank you for that clarification. And thank you, Superintendent Bernhardt, for being here. We're happy to see you.
Absolutely. Thank you.
All right, great. Okay, so just checking. Okay, we have a little more time. Okay, so Allison, and go.
The next comment's also from Susan Donahue, 305 Maple Avenue, Drexel Hill. Wondering where our extra money for trash and sewer service paid in advance might have been allocated. We were shorted early summer, and once again, these past 2 weeks, we have the right to know where this was used. Thanks to you. End of comment. She sent several in a row, all short in nature.
Right, so we think that she didn't understand she could put them all in one email. So because each one was a different subject, she broke them down into 4 different ones. So we're letting her continue because it would have been the same time frame. So, okay. So CAO Rangione, can you give us a little bit on the financial side of?
Oh, sure. I mean that money hasn't been reallocated or respent in some other form or fashion. The sanitation workers and everyone else still gets paid, right? So whether we pick up trash once a week or twice a week, the staff cost is very similar. So in that way, there's not a particular rebate to be had, but yeah, that money hasn't been reallocated or spent in some other form or fashion.
Tom, I do see you. I do see your hand. CAO Rangione, just a question on the COVID-19 thing. I know that we will get reimbursed or we are hoping that our township gets reimbursed for funds that we had to spend to deal with COVID-19. Will that also apply to, since we continued to pay the salary of our workers who were in quarantine, and then we had to bring in others to pick up the trash while they were in quarantine, as well as hire, rent the dumpsters and hire a third company to help us with the process. Will we be able to get reimbursements for any of those, or are we going to at least try to get some reimbursements for some of those expenses during the last couple of weeks?
Yeah, we are absolutely going to try. I mean, I wish I could guarantee that we'll be successful, but I believe that they are COVID-related expenses and they would fall under the guidelines and we should be reimbursed. And it's definitely our plan to try to do that.
Okay, great. Councilman Wagner, you had a comment, a response to Susan Donahue's comment. You got to turn your mic on. You got to turn your mic on.
Sorry about that.
Sorry.
And
Your mic is off again. You got to turn your mic back on. There you go.
I don't know why that happened.
It
It's
happens sometimes.
my observation that most of our population in Upper Darby Township just went through, on average, a 2-week period where they didn't get their trash collected. Some more, including myself, I might add, and many of them, including myself again, had to cart the worst of their trash to dumpsters at central locations. Do we have any plan to reimburse those people or refund to those people the trash collection fee that we've already collected from them?
We don't have a plan to do that at this time, to be very honest. We're focused on getting trash up off the ground at the moment, and that's probably a conversation, worth having in the future once we're through this.
Okay. Okay. Did you have any other questions, Councilman Wagner?
I have quite a few, but I don't think they're appropriate now.
Specific to the resident's question?
No, not on that resident's question, no.
Okay, great. Then we need to continue on her question. On her, Allison, I think she had a couple more.
To Donahue, Drexel Hill, wondering why Barbara thought it more important to tell UDJT, the plan SWAT not speak of it on council meeting, and we, the taxpaying constituents, were blindsided the day after the meeting. Barbara, I thought you campaigned on transparency. This was blatant favoritism to a small group over a majority of taxpaying constituents who do not agree with taking police defenses away. Thanks. End of comment.
Okay. Okay. Next.
Sue Donahue, 305 Maple Ave, DH. Where has Vince been? The admin's presence is vital for community relations. We have not seen nor heard from many of you, including my councilman, who I have emailed without answers. Wondering if any of you can be less evasive and more accessible. This isn't a kingdom, it's a township, and would love to have more accessibility to our elected people. Thank you. End of comment.
Okay. And I know that we had to hold the time because of council's response. Councilwoman Billups, have we hit the 30-minute mark for public comment?
Yes.
Yes, we have. Okay, great. So that is the end of public comment.
I move to extend the time frame of public comments and dispense with the 1.5 hour limitation, and such that we can hear all comments that have been registered with the township prior to this meeting.
Is there, okay, second, so extension by Don, and then seconded by Wagner. Okay, any questions or concerns on extending the public comment? Okay, can we get a roll call vote on extension?
Councilman Tunis,
No.
Councilwoman Billups is a no. Councilman Silva,
No.
Councilwoman Blackwell,
No.
Councilman Gwynn, Councilman Gwynn.
You gotta turn your mic on. You gotta turn your mic on. Everybody turn your mics on.
I'm sorry. The answer is no, but we can take the comments later after conclusion of the regular meeting. Thank you.
Councilman Burke,
Yes, just like we've done in the past.
Councilman Siddiq,
No, not at this time.
Councilwoman Faralia is excused. Councilman Barnett,
Yes.
Councilman Wagner,
Yes.
and Council President Wentz.
No.
So that's,
Extremely unfortunate.
yeah,
6 no,
yes.
3 yes. Okay, so the public comment is now closed. The motion did not pass. Okay. So next up, we have President of Council. So we do have an action, and then I do have some things I wanted to say. We looked ahead at the fall schedule. In the past, when we entered into October, November, December, I believe in the past, Councilman Barnett, I need I kind of have a question for you, but I believe that we had added a third council meeting during that time period in the past because we didn't have 2 voting meetings during the fall to be able to pass what needed to pass for the budget purposes. Is that fair to say?
That is correct.
Okay, so since now that our committee meeting is a voting meeting and we can do a reading of an ordinance in our first Wednesday of the month council's committee meeting, we don't need to have necessarily the same sequence of meetings the way it had been established in the past. So I looked at the schedule. I conferred with solicitors and mayor and CAO. In reference to it. And so therefore, we have a motion to advertise updated dates for October, November, and December 2020 committee meetings to October 7th, the 11th, November 11th. This being that we take the day off after election to reboot. So we meet on the second Wednesday for the committee meeting in November. December 2nd being the first Wednesday, and then council meetings to be October 14th and 21st, November 18th, and December 9th and 16th. So can I get a motion? Can I get a moved and second for this motion? Council members, you got to turn your mic on.
I'd like to make that motion.
Okay.
I'd like to second it.
Okay, are there any questions and concerns on this motion? Okay, seeing none. So all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Opposed, say your name. Okay, ayes have it. Great. Okay, so I just wanted to, so I'm gonna hop to another screen and tell me if you can't hear me. I'm still new to the Zoom thing. Okay, so we've had a lot of feedback about what has happened in our township, and this year, 2020, has been a very eventful year. We have encountered things that I don't think we've ever encountered before. And at least the 2 years that I was on council for 2018 and 19, the only big things that happened during those years were snowstorms. We did have a couple floods, but that was the most of it. And so I was looking back at what we've been dealing with this year, as well as what we have accomplished as a council and as our administration and our mayor. And I just wanted to go through a couple of some of them. We started our transition. We had about 2.5, maybe 2 months of a transition with newly elected and appointed leaders, a new mayor, a new administration. And then so we had that for January, February, and then on March 12th, COVID-19 worldwide pandemic hit. Our county was shut down. The mayor did a emergency declaration on March 13th. Our county had no health department, so we couldn't get detailed information about our specific township. We had the closing of the township building and all public buildings. Council meetings were moved to being virtual because we could not meet in person because of the restrictions on the number of people in a space. Then, as a reaction to everything that was going on, our mayor and administration made sure to establish online payment options for tickets and taxes, which had never happened before. Between council and the mayor and administration, we extended the 2% tax discount for real estate, as well as other tax extensions throughout the last few months to help our constituents, business and residents themselves. We finally, Chester County became the Delaware County Health Department. Then we started getting specific data for Upper Darby. The maps that they first gave to us were in reference to the number of people that were sick and deaths, but not the ratio. We have far more people in our township than most areas. So once they got the percentage in, that ratio made everything make more sense. Please mute your microphones. This is not a discussion process. Then we also council did consolidation of our code enforcement. We voted on that under Public Works. Department heads took a 10% pay cut. Our workers were furloughed, those that were represented by OPIU, to 2 to 3 days per week. We had peaceful Black Lives Matter protests. We then suddenly had looters on 69th Street that were not related to the protests at all, but taking advantage of the protests. And our police force did an amazing job protecting our residents, our businesses, business employees, and rescuing them from the looters. We were in COVID-19 red zone until June 5th, which is when we could start hiring, our administration was able to start hiring summertime staff to be able to start the twice a week pickup on July 8th. We stepped out of the yellow zone and into the green on June 26th for Delaware County. Township code enforcement began in July. We had a horrific tropical storm which caused mass flooding, and then the need to quarantine our sanitation department 2 days later. Another thing that I wanted to thank Solicitor Richardson for, she created a fabulous list for us on all the things that we have accomplished so far. So under quality life, we've started the pilot program for street cleaning, street opening for repair and pavement. Decriminalization of marijuana is what we're discussing today, and I'm hoping that it passes. Property maintenance code was updated. Food inspection standards were updated after 40 years in the rear. Sewer lateral inspections, beekeepers for honeybees, we passed within, I think, last month. In tax collection, we did regulations for collection on business privilege tax, appointment to, we're going to be appointing a new tax collector, but we also appointed a tax collector for business privilege tax collector for real estate taxes, sewer and trash fees, revamped our parking fines, ordinance on collection procedures, updating our township council operations. All of our council meetings are now public, where residents have an opportunity to weigh in both public meetings each month. And then when we do have we do end up having 3 meetings a month in the fall, they will be able to weigh in on all of them. Providing teleconferencing participation during meetings. So now, we had a ordinance about that, but then we also had to move into Zoom meetings as well for the COVID-19. We had some trainings on zoning board functions for council, as well as Right to Know and Sunshine Act. We were provided those trainings by our solicitors. Updating township functions, place electrical department change to a division and place it under Public Works, amending qualifications for Public Work Department Head, moving Public Health and Property Maintenance all under L&I. That's part of that code enforcement reassignment. And for specifically to COVID-19, we had emergency solutions grants for COVID-19, the mayor's emergency declaration, and extension of real estate tax discount period. Sorry, I have to go back to camera. There we go. So I just wanted to point out that there are so many things that have happened in this year that had not happened in previous years. Our mayor and administration and us as council have been under, everything keeps rolling. There's always something new every single day. And I just wanted to point out that there have been some comments of why didn't you have this plan 6 months ago? Well, 6 months ago, COVID-19 was being ignored by powers way above us. So no, it's not a wave your hand moment. This is my president moment. Okay. So I just want.
Not okay. Not okay.
No, you do not have the mic. So I just want to thank everyone in our township that have been working hard at helping us wherever we needed to solve problems, for understanding the constant different problems that we have within this township, that all the issues that have come up and all the things we have done to move things forward. And so I just wanted to thank everyone for their patience and understanding. I understand some residents are very upset, and you have every right to be, and we're doing our best to fix things. And we're trying to work together to make that happen. So I just wanted to point out the things that we have accomplished. We have made, and there are a lot, and as another resident had pointed out, on tonight's agenda is the fair districting resolution to end gerrymandering statewide, and that council will hopefully be passing that as well. So we've made a lot of progress. We've made a lot of transparency within council that was mentioned in the first 100 days of council meetings. We've done a lot, and we have a lot more to do, and we will continue to improve as we go along. So I just wanted to thank everyone for what you've been doing and for your help. And Councilman Wagner, this is not your time to talk, and this will not be your time to talk, okay? You're not on the agenda. You're not on the agenda. You're out of order. You're out of order.
You are out of order. This is total.
Stop turning your mic on. You're out of order. So I just wanted to thank everyone for all your hard work. Thank you to all the workers that have come and helped us. And thank you to our sanitation workers for all that you do, because a lot of people didn't realize how hard you worked and all the things you encountered on your daily workday. We greatly appreciate you. We look forward to seeing you on Monday. So thank you. Next up, we have the Honorable Mayor Barbara Ann Keffer.
Thank you, Council President Wentz. There's a couple of appointments I'd like to make at the end of this, but I do appreciate everybody voicing their opinion about what's going on. And I know it's been really difficult with the trash collection. We are in the middle of the second week of our trash collection contingency plan. And I know it's been frustrating and confusing on top of the global pandemic and the flooding on August 4th and the heat and humidity. It's been tough on everybody. And the last several months have created a general sense of loss of control of our lives and a huge amount of uncertainty as different COVID numbers come in. Many people are out of work. Many people are suffering financially and otherwise. It looks like our schools are going mostly virtual. And then there's the back and forth with the mitigation guidelines and so on and so forth. I do understand your frustrations when the trash collections fell behind their regular schedule. And I appreciate your understanding as we work hard to catch up on things and get them back to normal. Aside, there are other effects of the flooding that we had on in early August. There was a multiplication of the amount of trash that we were putting out due to flooding, basements being flooding and so on. There was also the temporary displacement of about 19 families and a $97,000 emergency repair to a stormwater culvert on Marshall and Grace Roads that collapsed under the pressure of the floodwaters. I do deeply appreciate the assistance from the Upper Darby School District bus drivers in their helping us out, helping us to implement our contingency plan. Our normal sanitation workforce should be back on Monday, August 24th, when bulk collection and the recycling collections will resume. Members of our TWU 234 work together to bring back the quarantine staff who will return to work with staggered schedules and a modified work plan to ensure their safety and well-being. And I do want to stress, although I take 100% of the responsibility for the decision, it was not made in a vacuum. This was made in a meeting with union leaders, our HR department, head of public works, and our CAO. So it wasn't, I just didn't make my mind up out of the blue. August 31st this month is Overdose Awareness Day, and I have a proclamation which I would like to read. Whereas International Overdose Awareness Day is recognized globally on August 31st to raise awareness about the risks of overdosing, to honor the individuals whose lives have been lost from overdosing, and to acknowledge the grief felt by families, friends, and communities. And whereas Overdose Awareness Day aims to publicly challenge the stigma associated with substance use disorders and overdosing. And whereas every person deserves our best efforts to prevent injury and death from overdose, and it is imperative to support overdose prevention policies and projects and to help make sure everyone understands overdose is a social issue which impacts the victim, families, their friends, and communities. I now therefore proclaim August 31st, 2020 as Overdose Awareness Day.
Thank you. You had more, right?
Well, so, I mean, I would like to end on an up note, but I'll say this, we're heading into budget season, and I would like to alert everyone that we are closely examining all of our professional service contracts and other contracts. And on Saturday, I'm pleased to announce that a small herd of goats will be descending upon Gillespie Park in the Westbrook Park neighborhood to remove invasives that obstruct the view to the creek. And they're there to protect the trees that already exist there. We're trying to think out of the box, to arrive at solutions that address the overgrowth that has taken over nearly all the areas of our township that are bordered by our creeks, the Darby Creek, Nailers Run, Collin Brook, and Cobbs Creek. So this is a good start for that. And I think that's about all I have to say for now. So stay tuned. We do issue Delco alerts every couple of days, and there's always up-to-date information on our website and the official Facebook page, which is Upper Darby -government. So thank you.
Great, thank you. And I'm gonna try and go down and see the goats. It's gonna be fun.
Oh, so let's do the resolutions now. So there's two appointments. I would be very pleased if council would vote to approve them. The first one is to make Kevin Colgan our municipal emergency management coordinator. And I'd just like to say about Kevin, he's a long-term longtime employee of the township. I think he started in 2002, and he's been working with Nikki Palmer to address the whole sanitation issue. But aside from that, we think Kevin is the best person to take over from Bill Gall, who's been doing a fantastic job for, I'm going to assume decades. I don't really know, but everybody has received, I believe, Kevin's resume, and I would really like for everyone on council to consider appointing him. So that's a resolution. So I think Council President Wentz, you have to take over from here.
Yep. Yes, so we have a resolution and we had to change the word from appointing to recommending. Hold on, we're not at that point in time, council members, yet. Recommending Kevin Colgan. So at this point in time, could Solicitor Richardson give us a brief on this?
Yes, thank you. So this is a resolution of the Township of Upper Darby, Delaware County, recommending Kevin Colgan as a Municipal Emergency Management Coordinator to the Governor's Office for appointment. Just as the mayor has shared, William Gall was appointed as the Emergency Management Coordinator on June 15th, 1979. And he desires to relinquish his duties. Whereas Kevin Colgan has completed all the requirements to serve as the Municipal Emergency Management Coordinator for the township, whereas the mayor desires to recommend Kevin Colgan for the position of Municipal Emergency Management Coordinator to the Governor's Office in Delaware County. Now, therefore, be it resolved by the Upper Darby Township Council that Kevin Colgan is recommended to the Governor's Office in Delaware County to serve as the Emergency Management Coordinator. There is a inconsistency. Repeal all resolutions or parts thereof inconsistent with this resolution are hereby repealed, and there is a severability clause, and this is effective upon its immediate adoption. So just to clarify the point of changing from a appointing to a recommending, in the particular case of an emergency management coordinator, the person is appointed directly from the governor's office. So the recommendation comes from the township, but the final say comes from the governor's office. And there are some requirements that are that Mr. Colgan was required to do. He has done so, including a background check that has been done and that gets submitted to as a packet to the governor's office. So when's the reading?
Great, thank you for that clarification. So can we get a motion to approve resolution 31-20?
I'd
like to make that motion.
I'd like to make the motion.
I already moved.
So
Seconded.
So Barnett and Gwen.
Sorry, Bob.
That's okay.
And I did hear Silva in there, but I'll get you later, Silva.
I must have just coughed. It's fine.
Okay, so are there any questions or concerns on this resolution?
I just want to comment, if I may, Madam President.
Sure, go ahead.
I've had, I've known Kevin for a number of years, and in the various capacities he's served in Upper Darby. One thing that I found admirable about him is that he's a good communicator. When he was assigned to resolve issues in the first district, he would always speak with me, give me updates, and keep me posted on the eventual outcomes. And so I can support him wholeheartedly.
Great. Yes, my interactions with him have been very positive, so I definitely support him. Anyone else want to comment? Or yes, Councilman Gwynn?
He's a good person who's dedicated to Upper Darby and interested in making Upper Darby better.
Great, awesome. So, all right, so then let's move forward with the motion. All those in favor of resolution 31-20, please signify by saying aye.
Aye. Aye.
Aye.
Let's say your name. Ayes have it. Great. Next up, we have a motion to appoint Gary Moran as Director of Finance by the Mayor Bahrain Keffer with the approval of council.
I'm sorry, Council President. Could I just say one quick word?
Sure.
Yeah, sorry to interrupt. I just wanted to recognize Bill Gall.
Yes.
Bill has done an incredible job for the township, and he's really been incredible in the transition. He came to us and voluntarily said that he wanted to relinquish his emergency management responsibilities, and he's just been fantastic in terms of all of his institutional knowledge and transmitting that knowledge to Kevin. So I just wanted to say, a word of appreciation and thanks to Bill Gall for his service, and also express how excited we are to have Kevin moving forward. He's going to be great.
Yes, I agree. Bill Gall is an awesome individual and extremely helpful. Definitely helped us in our transition and everything. So I appreciate him greatly. Councilman, but we actually have to, sorry, I shouldn't have said any of that. We have to move and second it before we move forward with our comments. So Councilman Bonnet, after we move and second it, then we'll go with you, okay? Because I messed up, I should not have weighed in. Or unless you had a question about, or a comment about Bill Gall. Did you have a comment, Bill?
I
Bill
do.
Gall? Okay, I'm sorry, my bad. Go ahead.
Yeah. No, thank you. I also want to echo what CAO Rongione said about Bill. I've known Bill for many, many years, and he's worked tirelessly. And you were right, President Wentz, for decades. He has served this township in that capacity. When an emergency has occurred, he was there. It doesn't matter what time of day or early hours of the morning. Bill Gall was there to deal with it. So we're going to miss Bill. I wish him the best of luck. I'm sure I'll see him around the community. And I just think that Kevin has big shoes to fill, and I'm sure Kevin will do a good job. But again, we can't we have to acknowledge the success of Bill Gall. So, Bill, thank you.
Definitely. Did anyone else want to weigh in on Bill Gall before we moved on? Councilman Gwynn?
I just want to say thank you to Bill Gall for all that he has done. And he's been here a long time.
He's still with us. He's still on our team, right? He's not resigning from our township.
I realize that.
Not
everything, all these emergencies that we have had, snow emergencies, floods, COVID now, he has been in the heart of trying to keep Upper Darby Township and the administration safe.
Okay, great. Yes, all right. So we need a motion to appoint Gary Moran as our Director of Finance. Can I get a
motion made?
Okay.
Second it.
And Tunis, are there any questions or concerns on this motion? We did all get his resume over the weekend. So Councilman Bonnet?
Yes, I mean, he does have a rather impressive resume for sure, and he is a CPA. Did we advertise for the position?
Yes.
How many, Vince, how many responses did we get?
I honestly don't know offhand.
But do we get several? Can you at least testify that it's been several responses?
Oh, yeah. Yes, we got several, and we spoke to a number of people. We got several, and we spoke to a number of people about the position. Honestly, we just felt very fortunate because Gary, he has this, I don't know, 20, 30, 40-year career in business, and he's at a point in his career where he really wants to give something back to the community. So it's a level of expertise and experience that we probably would not otherwise have access to. And so we sort of felt like, man, we found kind of a diamond in the rough here. Let's move on it.
Well, one thing for sure that's impressive is he's a resident of Upper Darby Township, and as a department head, and you know my feelings about that. So I just wanted to make those comments and put them on record. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Any other comments or concerns on this motion? Okay, seeing none. All those in favor of appointing Gary Moran as Director of Finance, please signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, your name. Great. No one opposed. All in favor. Okay, great. So next up, we have committee reports, Law, Government, Rules and Procedures Committee. Co-chairs, Councilwoman Billups and Councilman Silva. Members, Councilwoman Blackwell and Councilman Siddiq. First up is a public hearing for ordinance number 3081. And Solicitor Kilkenny, can you give us a brief on this ordinance?
Sure, be happy to. Okay. I'm going to talk to you about the ordinance. An ordinance amending the ordinances of Upper Darby Township to establish a mechanism to process the minor nonviolent offenses of personal possession or personal use of small amounts of marijuana and personal possession of marijuana paraphernalia within the limits of Upper Darby Township, providing a severability clause, repealing all inconsistent ordinances, and providing an effective date. Whereas Upper Darby Township is a home rule charter township organized operating in accordance with the home rule charter as permitted by the home rule charter and optional plans law. Whereas section 201 of the charter grants the township any power and function not denied by the Constitution of Pennsylvania, the General Assembly, and the charter. Whereas section 302 of the charter provides the township council is exclusively vested with all legislative powers, except as those otherwise provided by law or the charter. This section also grants township council the power to make and adopt ordinances and resolutions consistent with the Constitution and laws of this Commonwealth and with this charter. Whereas the discriminatory enforcement of nonviolent drug possession has resulted in profound racial and ethnic disparities in the criminal justice system, which has led to mass incarceration. Whereas the Upper Darby Police Superintendent and the administration have agreed that decriminalization of marijuana will help direct resources to prevent serious and violent crime, preventing and improving relationships between the department and the community they serve and protect. Whereas numerous Pennsylvania municipalities, including the municipality of Norristown, the city of Lancaster, the city of York, the city of Bethlehem, the city of Harrisburg have exercised the power and authority by ordinance to address the processing and handling of minor nonviolent offenses for the personal possession or personal use of small amounts of marijuana and the personal possession of marijuana paraphernalia within the limits. Whereas in accordance with the powers and duties vested in the Township Council under this charter and Pennsylvania law, including those inherent police powers for the enforcement and regulation of certain local offenses, Township Council now desires to enact an ordinance addressing the proceeding and handling of minor nonviolent offenses for the personal possession and personal use of small amounts of marijuana and the personal possession of marijuana paraphernalia within Upper Darby Township. Section 1, legislative findings and intent. The purpose and intent of this chapter is to promote the general safety and welfare of the public by possessing a mechanism to process the small nonviolent offenses of personal possession of marijuana in use and general possession of marijuana paraphernalia within the limits of Upper Darby Township. And it is not to promote or condone the possession of use of marijuana or marijuana paraphernalia. There is definitions of marijuana paraphernalia, personal possession, personal use, small amount, which is 30 grams or less of marijuana or 8 grams or less of hashish, as defined by the Pennsylvania Controlled Substance, Drug, Device, and Cosmetic Act. And all of those previous definitions were taken out of the Pennsylvania Crimes Code. Therefore, when there were queries from council about amending them, I strongly recommended we do not. Section 3, personal possession of personal use of a small amount of marijuana. So long as marijuana shall be listed as a controlled substance in the Controlled Substance Act of 1972, no person shall be in possession of a small amount of marijuana as defined in the Act. The following shall be violations of the Act. Well, that should be personal possession of a small amount of marijuana or personal use of a small amount of marijuana. Any person who is found in violation of this chapter shall be issued a non-traffic summary citation by a police officer or another authorized law enforcement officer. Alternatively, the officer can obtain the subject's name and address and later send a citation by first-class mail in accordance with the Pennsylvania Rules of Criminal Procedure. And a police officer or other authorized enforcement officer who observes a violation of this section by a person under the age of 18 shall temporarily detain the minor and follow all existing procedures for the handling of summary offenses committed by a minor, advise the parent or guardian that the minor was found in personal possession of a small amount of marijuana or to have been engaging in a small amount of marijuana, use of a small amount of marijuana, issue a copy of the citation to the parent or guardian, advising that he or she is responsible for the payment of the violation, or 4, provide the parents and guardians with contact information for a local agency dealing with substance abuse and education. Personal possession of marijuana paraphernalia, so long as drug paraphernalia includes objects used in connection with marijuana possession or in use of controlled substance, drug, device, and cosmetic act of 1972. It shall be a violation of this section to be in a personal possession of marijuana paraphernalia. Any person who is found in violation of this section shall be issued a non-traffic citation, similar to the process contained, actually exactly the same, contained in section 3, which I just listed above, including how a minor would be processed. Penalties. A, the penalty for first and second possession of section 3 of this ordinance related to a small amount of marijuana shall be $75. The penalty for a third violation of section 3 of this ordinance related to possession of small marijuana shall be $75. The penalty for first violation of section 3 of this ordinance relating to personal use of marijuana shall be $75. The penalty for second violation of section 3 of this ordinance relating to personal use of marijuana shall be $75. The penalty for third violation of section 3 of this ordinance related to personal use of marijuana shall be $75. The penalty for first and second violations of section 4 shall be $75. The penalty for a third violation of section 4 shall be $75. The court may in its discretion suspend the fine imposed under this ordinance if the person found guilty agrees to and in fact does perform community service as the court deems is appropriate for as much as 20 hours. Enforcement, section 6, a non-traffic summary citation under this article shall be enforced in accordance with the procedures by the Upper Darby Police Department. The police superintendent or his designee shall report to council regarding the implementation of this article on an annual basis for the first 3 years that it's enacted. This article shall not be construed to supersede any existing Pennsylvania or federal law. There's a severability clause, there's a repealer clause, and there is an effective date. And that's my reading of the ordinance, Madam President.
Great, thank you. So at this point in time, we need Ms. Dobbins to come back and so that we can have a public hearing on ordinance number 3081. So take it away, Ms. Dobbins. Sorry, please.
Yes. Meg Massaro, 712 Wildell Road, Drexel Hill. Regarding the question of personal possession of marijuana in small amounts, I'm concerned about the user who starts small because almost always it escalated and many times to hard drugs. I feel it is better to discourage drugs in any amount. I've seen users so addicted they spend decades of their lives trying to get off them. If council and the mayor want to decriminalize small amounts, I would expect there is nothing that can be done about that since the state already did. The fines for possession, however, should be escalated each time someone is found with a substance. Having a first offense at $75, second double that, and a third offense double again might make someone think about having the substance on their possession at all. A penalty of $300 for a third offense may change their minds about carrying it. I encourage the mayor and council to change the direction of charging $75 for each offense, no matter how many times a person is caught with a substance, and establish graduated penalties for multiple offenses. End of comment.
Okay. Would anyone like to respond to that resident's comment? Go ahead, Councilwoman Phillips.
I just want to say that it's called decriminalization. decriminalization of small amounts of marijuana. And I often hear people say, I get that and I understand that, and they don't. Because decriminalization, you keep hiking up the fines. I'll be honest with you, that doesn't mean that people are going to stop using small amounts. It's small amounts. We're not saying, you're, if someone has, I don't know, I don't even know what a large amount is, but, or if someone's growing marijuana in their backyard or anything like that, it's small amounts of marijuana. And we don't want this on people's record, especially young Black and brown boys. And it just doesn't make sense to me. It just doesn't make sense to keep raising the fines because it's not going to stop. It just doesn't make sense. It's decriminalizing marijuana. It's not saying, you know what, hey, go out and smoke a joint, if you want to. That's not the issue of this ordinance. So, and I hope people understand that.
Okay, I have Councilman Tunis, and then I have Councilman Bonnet. And Superintendent Bernhardt, if you also want to weigh in, please give me a wave and I'll call you in, okay? Okay, so Councilman Tunis?
Yeah, if you look across the nation, in many cities and the demographics of the people this affect, the age, the economic levels, progressive fines aren't, especially when a subject like this, I think progressive fines kind of defeat the purpose, because it's not in the sense of the $75, like somebody should pay $200, $300. It's the sense of what is reasonable that the township can actually cite them and we will get back. And this is based on the economic levels in our township. This is something that a lot of people always say marijuana is a gateway drug. There's been a lot of studies that dispute that. So I just, in regards to I understand the concerns of the resident, but I just want to explain to her that this is, like Councilwoman Billis said, this is decriminalization, small amounts of marijuana, paraphernalia, okay? We're not trying to just have our police go out and just keep, no, if it's there, it's there, and they will act accordingly. But the idea of progressive fines, I don't know how that really reflects what the economic levels of the public in Upper Darby.
Okay, thank you. Councilman Bonnet?
You're muted.
Councilman Bonnet, you gotta unmute yourself.
You're muted, Counselor.
You gotta
I'm
unmute
sorry,
yourself.
thank you.
There
Thank
you
you.
go.
On the point of escalating the fines, I agree with that, but I have a question. At some point, or I should say, this ordinance permits effectively the violation of possessing a small amount, because the penalty isn't that severe. At what point is it no longer a small amount? I guess it's anything over 30 grams, but at what point can one be held over for a trial on something like this, or incarcerated? Are we just going to continue that no matter what amount they have, they're going to get a $75 fine? Maybe that's for Superintendent Bernhardt to help me understand.
Should read the ordinance. It says all there.
Superintendent Bernhardt, did you want to weigh in?
So yeah, so Councilman Bonnet and everyone else, council that's present, the simple possession of marijuana, like it reads in the ordinance, is anything less than the 30 grams. So the question as to when does it become something different? We would always enforce anything that wasn't simple possession. And the mayor and I have spoken. So anything that would be over that, if there was any indication that it wasn't possession, if it was intent, the officers would then charge the criminal complaint with that appropriate charge. This is for more of the individual that just has a blunt or has a small amount on them, that is a cigarette type that is smoking. And like Councilman Tunis had said, you have to put it to a price where you're actually going to be able to collect. making something so high that we'll never be able to collect it doesn't serve anybody any purpose, I believe. The $75 is something that was on the ordinance. I think it shows that we are committed to working with the residents of the community. It also helps us, the police department, with all the backlog that we're going to have. Some officers are better at paperwork than others, but some officers that are bringing people back and arresting them for the simple possession, it can take a few hours to get everything from start to finish. And at times it takes officers away that we have on the street. That's just kind of.
And I certainly appreciate all that. And I think it does tend to clog up the system. But again, I'm trying to get a better sense for if someone possesses something significantly more than 30 grams, it implies in this ordinance, you can only fine them $75.
No,
Councilor,
no, it doesn't.
No,
it doesn't.
Okay.
That's what I'm trying to understand.
Superintendent Bernhardt, can you clarify for us?
So, yes,
I mean, I
correct.
don't believe it says that in the ordinance.
Yes, correct. Anything, Councilmember, that anything that would be over the 30 grams would be charged with a criminal complaint. It would not be charged with simple possession. That would be a different charge. So that if there was anything more than 30 grams, it would be charged differently. It would not be on this township ordinance, which is a $70 fine.
Wouldn't it make sense to say that in the ordinance? As a deterrent to possess more than 30 grams.
Well, the 30 grams is just the threshold. It basically says this is not here to supersede or deal with anything or interfere with anything in the Pennsylvania Crimes Code. Mm-hmm. So sure, you could say that, but it's implied, and you heard it from your superintendent on how it will be interpreted.
And I'm pleased to hear that, Superintendent Bernhardt, that's the way you will apply this. But normally, when you have an ordinance, you say these kinds of things. That there is, in fact, a deterrent that's going to cost one more than $75 for possessing more than 30 grams. And by the way, I said this at the last meeting, I have some pretty liberal views on the possession of marijuana or the use of marijuana. And I don't use it myself and never have. But again, I appreciate that the impact it has on the community, that it has on the system, our prisons, et cetera, et cetera. It clogs the system, as the terminology I used a bit earlier. But it just makes sense to me. And again, Superintendent Bernhardt, I'm very pleased to hear the way you're going to enforce it. This would make sense to me that it's said that way in the ordinance. No further comment.
Okay, so keep in mind, we're responding to a resident's comment. Just make sure that all council members who speak, that it's a response to the resident's comment, okay? So next up, we have Councilman Silva.
Thank you, Council President. I would like to respond to Ms. Macero's comment. One of the questions I think we've heard time and time again is, why are these fines not progressive? And it's my understanding that by the non-progressive nature of these fines, the records would be easier to seal, that they're not, I mean, like, we don't keep track necessarily of how many parking tickets everyone has on a routine basis, because we're, is that correct, Superintendent Bernhardt?
You gotta unmute yourself. There you go.
Sorry about that.
That's okay.
So, Councilman, if I understand your question correctly, it's about the increase in the fine. Is that what it was?
Yeah, the non-progressive nature of the fines.
Yes, absolutely. So again, I think the simplest way to explain it is what are we going to be able to collect to begin with? We can't make the fine something astronomical that's not going to be met. It's not going to be able to be paid to begin with. So the $75 is something reasonable that can be paid, that can be collected. A lot of times when you see other non-traffic offenses that officers cite for when they go through the courts, it's a scale where the district judge has the right to set the fine at whatever they want, just say from $100 to $300, $300 to $500. And it's something that can be paid, is what the judge usually will set it at, is what can be afforded, what can be paid, and what can the court collect, and what can the township collect.
Okay. And then my one other response to her public comment is the issue of marijuana being a gateway drug. I think that what often gets overlooked is believe that the criminality, like the people being arrested for owning a small possession of marijuana, going to prison or going to a jail, serving time for that, I think that in a lot of ways, I think we overlook that leads perhaps more to a life of crime than smoking a small amount of marijuana. So those are my 2 comments.
Okay, great. And just so
Can we
Councilman
proceed to the
Wagner,
questions?
Council Wagner and Gwynn, just verifying that we're still sticking to responding to the residents' comments. Just want to make sure.
I wanted to comment on the ordinance in general. So if that's not appropriate now.
Yeah, let's wait until we're at our council side. So it's only comments as a response to the residents' questions and comments. Okay, so we'll hold off on Wagner and Gwynn until when it's council's time to comment on the actual ordinance, okay? We do have a couple more comments. So if Ms. Dobbins can come back and continue the public comment. Go ahead, the public hearing.
Janice Heyman, 727 Stanbridge Road. I support the ordinance that would decriminalize small amounts of marijuana. It keeps people out of jail, saving the taxpayers money, and frees up the police to concentrate on more important issues. End of comment.
Thank you. Okay, and next.
Andrew Heyman, 309 Edmonds Avenue. Good evening. While I commented at last week's meeting, I thought it was appropriate to comment again, considering your upcoming vote to decriminalize marijuana. I trust that you have or will speak with our police chief, who has given you his input. In the township that I manage, we implemented this last month, and we haven't descended into anarchy quite yet. Actually, I'm excited to report that our decriminalization program is going quite well. This is such a no-brainer that I struggle to come up with more points to support this position. Simply put, you should do this. It isn't an issue in Fulcroft, and it won't be an issue here. Thanks for your time. End of comment. And end of all comments submitted.
Great. There was in our public comments earlier, some that pertain to, but we did hear it, so, okay. Okay, great. All right, so seeing that there are no more public comments, the public hearing is officially closed. At this point in time, I'd like to get a motion to approve ordinance number 3081. Can we get a motion?
Make a motion to approve ordinance 3081.
Right, so Phillips and Peace. Great. And at this point in time, Councilman Wagner, this is your time for your comment. So go ahead, Councilman Wagner.
Thank you. I'm going to preface it by saying that I just heard Don Barnett call himself a liberal, and I was amazed at that. But I'm not going to do the same thing. I am in favor of this ordinance, though, for many of the reasons that have already been stated, but primarily because in decriminalizing this particular conduct, we're saving police resources. We don't have them to waste. We just don't have them to waste. And judicial resources, too. So that's a reason I really wanted to highlight and add as to why I, for one, support this ordinance.
Great, thank you. Before you, next up we have Councilman Gwynn on my list, and then Councilman Barnett, I have you on my list, and then Councilman Burke. So go ahead, Councilman Gwynn.
Actually, my question is to Tim Bernhardt, Superintendent. With regards to the individuals that do get picked up for the small amounts of marijuana, will there be a request to have them provide the source of the marijuana to see if there's a commonality of the individual that has the larger amounts?
So, Councilman, yes and no. So the ordinance, when passed, when officers enforce it, would be the non-traffic citation. It would be issued either on scene or mailed. If it was a juvenile, a guardian or a parent would be contacted to let them know that the police had contact with them. They're always the effort to try and further an investigation by making sure that someone is Mirandized, they're advised that it's an investigation, and that would they like to provide any other information. That from time to time will be utilized, could be utilized, but it would not be something that's automatically going to be done every time if it's it's situational depending upon what it is and the circumstances around it.
Exactly. My point was the stuff doesn't come finding it on the street and you just pick it up. The bottom line is that somebody is using this as a business, and they may be dealing other things than just the small packs. That's the point. And I just want to get back to that other source that could be the one that is dealing things that will hurt people down the road. Thank you.
Yes, that absolutely, Councilman.
That's it.
Great. So next up, we have Councilman Bonnet. You need to unmute yourself.
Thank you, Madam President. A couple of points. First of all, I am not a liberal. I just want to get that clear. Secondly, I am also in favor of this ordinance, primarily based upon the explanation of how it's going to be enforced, as explained by Superintendent Bernhardt, as well as Councilman Wagner said, it frees up assets that we have in our prisons. So on those bases, I am in favor of this ordinance.
Great, thank you. So up next is Councilman Burke.
Going back to the last meeting, a lot of conversations with other council people. Is this a fine, a violation, or a ticket? And the only reason I ask this, if you're under 18 and it's a ticket like we give tickets out through the township, it becomes a lien on the homeowner. So we're hearing different of a fine, a violation, or a ticket. So I'd like a little clarification on that. And if it's actually a repeat offender on the second one, it's still $75.75. But if they didn't pay the first one, is there any extra fines after that? The ordinance really doesn't say anything about that.
It does.
What's it say? If you don't pay
it talks about the judge having a jurisdiction to like supersede that or having their input. And that just brings me up another thing. A lot of these things in the ordinance didn't change. So from last week, a lot of these things are the same answers. I would refer to either the solicitor if you want an answer in that regard, but I don't think the answer would change from last week.
I mean, Superintendent Bernhardt talked about it as a non-traffic citation. It's essentially a ticket. Yeah.
Okay.
It does.
Okay.
Can I?
Yes. Go ahead.
It does say a fine, or it says fine and citation, I think. And also, it's up to the discretion of the judge after the last 75, you know, and there's other recourses about, it's up to the judge about programs if the person have substance use disorder and what
public health.
You know, so it's things that can happen instead of locking someone up and putting them in.
I wasn't looking to lock anybody up. I was just asking.
I didn't say that you were. I'm just saying that there's other recourses.
No, just a couple different words. It says a ticket, a fine. People are using different words. That's all I was asking.
Right.
Okay, up next is Councilman Silva.
Yes, Madam President. Yeah, I feel like we've kind of discussed a lot of these issues, and having heard the support from the superintendent, I feel like it would be a good time to call the question.
Okay. Yes, I was about to weigh in on that because it seemed like we had everyone was speaking in support for the most part, and not many people were speaking against. So just to clarify with our solicitors, do we have to do a motion to call the question, or can we just move forward with the question?
There's a motion and a second. If there's no more comment, just move forward with the vote.
Great.
I would like
awesome.
to make a motion.
No,
There
we
was.
have already-
Oh, there was a motion. I'm sorry.
There was a motion.
My apologies.
Yep, all right. Nope, it's already done. So,
Roll call.
because there's an ordinance, we have a roll call vote. So, Councilwoman Billups, can you give us a roll call?
Sure. Councilman Tunis,
Yes.
Billups is a yes. Silva, Councilman Silva,
Yes.
Councilwoman Black,
Yes.
Councilman Gwen,
Yes.
Councilman Burt,
Yes.
Councilman Siddiq,
Yes.
Councilwoman Faralia is excused. Councilman Barnett, you're muted.
You need to unmute yourself.
My
There you go.
apologies. Yes.
Councilman Wagner,
Yes.
and Council President Wentz.
Yes.
All yes and
Good
one.
job, everyone.
Thank you.
Good job, everyone. Awesome. Great. Wonderful. Okay, moving forward. Next up, we have resolution number 29-20. Can we get a, I failed to mark that. Is that, which solicitor is it? I failed to write that down. Courtney, or sorry, Richardson? Or
sorry.
Kilkenny?
Could you
It's
repeat?
me. It's me.
Okay,
Thank you.
okay, sorry.
Yes.
Fair districts. Okay, so sorry, before you begin for fair districts, we may have, Ms. Dobbins, do we have anyone in the waiting room from fair districts to join us? Aha, yay. Here we go.
Hey.
So we have Jean Mann. We have, okay, so sorry, before you begin for fair districts, we may have, oh, why am I echoing? Do we have anyone? Oh, that was weird. Okay, so we have Jean Mann back on board. We have Bonnie Helm, and we have Harold Floyd. So thank you all for coming back and joining us. I did clarify with council before we started this that you were joining us to answer any further questions that council may have and so forth. And I just wanted to thank Superintendent Bernhardt for joining us for the discussion on the previous ordinance. So thank you. I just wanted to do that crossfade thing.
Absolutely, you're welcome.
Thank you. Cool. So Solicitor Kilkenny, please continue with your brief on resolution 29-20.
Sure. Whereas a citizen, a resolution of Upper Darby Township, Delaware County, Pennsylvania, and the Board of Citizens Commission for Legislative and Congressional Redistricting, repealing all consistent resolutions or parts thereof, providing a severability clause, providing an effective date. Whereas the citizens of Upper Darby and the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania deserve a fair, full, transparent, impartial, and depoliticized process of the decennial drawing of the state legislature and congressional districts of near equal population. Whereas legislative and congressional redistricting has at times resulted in gerrymandered districts that favor one political party over others. Whereas such gerrymandering of legislative and congressional districts has worked at times to the detriment of our democracy. Whereas the creation of a truly independent citizens redistricting commission devoid of motivation or partisanship will ensure a fair, transparent, accurate legislative and congressional redistricting process that respects political subdivisions, prohibits districts from being drawn to favor and to discriminate against a political party or candidate, require the use of an impartial and sound methodology when setting district boundaries, require public input, and fully comply with constitutional requirement that no county, city, incorporated town, borough, township, or ward be divided unless absolutely necessary. Whereas legislation to amend the Pennsylvania Constitution to reform the decennial legislative and congressional redistricting process with the intent of using fairness and sound methodology in a nonpartisan fashion is required to ensure these reforms. Now therefore be it resolved that Upper Darby Township Council does hereby support legislative efforts to amend the Pennsylvania Constitution to assign a decennial task of both legislative and congressional redistricting to an independent citizens redistricting commission. Be it therefore resolved that we will call upon the elected officials and party leaders in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania who represent the citizens of Upper Darby Township to publicly announce their support and commitment to work towards passage of such legislative efforts, that a copy of this resolution be delivered to the following: Governor Wolf, Lieutenant Governor Fetterman, Attorney General Shapiro, United States Senators Casey and Toomey, United States Representative Scanlon, Pennsylvania Senator Kearney, Pennsylvania Representatives Zabel and Davidson, Brian Zidek, President of County Council, Monica Taylor, Vice President of County Council, Kevin Madden, on County Councilor, Elaine Schaefer, County Councilor, Christine Ruther, County Councilor, and the Secretary of the Commonwealth, Catherine Bookvar. There's a repealer clause, a severability clause, and an effective date. That concludes my reading.
Great, thank you. So can we get a motion to approve resolution 29-20?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Kenya, Councilwoman Blackwell and Councilman Tunis. Okay, any questions and concerns on Fair District resolution? Wow, this is incredible. Okay, so I'm seeing none. Okay. Was there a question or a concern? I'm seeing none. Okay, great. So all those in favor of passing fair resolution 29-20, please signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, say your name.
Tom Wagner, no.
All right.
Okay, 3 miles. So 9. So the motion passed 9-1. So I just wanted to thank the representatives from Fair Districts from joining us and bringing this resolution to us for a second time. So did you guys want to say something since you joined in and then we didn't have any questions for you?
Thank you. No, thank you. Thank you to the council.
Absolutely. I just want to thank you for your time and your consideration, and we're just really that this resolution passed. It's really, it's amazing, and it's very heartening, to see that that's what it's all about. It should be all about the people.
Great, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Awesome. Well, go, Bonnie.
I just want to say thank you. I really appreciate it. Thank you.
Awesome. So I just wanted to give them a chance to say something since we brought them on and then we as council didn't have any questions for them. So thank you so much for joining us during our council meeting and your presentation at the last meeting. I see Councilman Wagner's hand and I see Councilman Silva's hand. So Councilman Wagner, go ahead.
Before we leave the Law and Government Rules and Procedures Committee's report, I have a motion that I wish to make.
Wait, let me just, I'm still on Fair Districts. So did you have anything in reference to Fair Districts?
No, thank you.
Okay, Councilman Silva.
I actually do, Council President. I just wanted to thank our presenters for their time and their dedication to this process. And I agree that it's extremely important. Sorry, I didn't say more before the vote, but I didn't feel like it was necessary. But I do want to thank you for your time and your dedication to this and your civic-minded nature with it. Thank you.
Great. Thank you very much. So you guys can go forth and prosper. You guys rock. Thank you. See ya. All right. So Councilman Wagner, you said you had a motion?
I do. Thank you, Madam President. We have been through now in the last couple of weeks a quarantine of our sanitation department and a suspension of our trash collections. I submit this has been a crippling experience to Upper Darby Township, and I am moving at this point for an investigation of what happened here, why it happened, and how to prevent it from happening again. There is such a provision under Section 314 of the Home Rule Charter. I submit that there are good reasons to do this. I'm simply making the motion now. I'm going to wait to see if anyone seconds it. If it does, then I will request the floor back to explain in greater detail why I think it's necessary to do this. For now, I'm simply making a motion for an investigation under Section 314 of the Home Rule Charter.
Is there a second?
There is, but Don Barnett has to unmute himself.
I second that motion.
Okay.
All right, may I have the floor back then, Madam Chairman?
Yes, you're the maker of the motion, so go ahead.
Thank you. This has been a tragedy of really titanic proportion in the context of the life of Upper Darby, and it's not over. It's not over at all. We have spent this evening talking about a lot of other things, but not what happened in the last couple of weeks. And with all due respect, we've had a presentation by the council president basically listing and applauding the accomplishments of Upper Darby's government over the last 6 months. With all due respect, there's nothing personal about this, but I regard that as not only insensitive, it's absolutely tone deaf to our population. This is a very, very serious matter that has overwhelmed our township now for several weeks. I will state frankly that I am not satisfied in any way with the information that we received from the mayor's administration 2 weeks ago in our last council meeting. I believe that some of that information had directly to do with the health of township employees, and I believe it was inaccurate. Whether that was knowing or unknowing, whether that was deliberate or not deliberate, I don't know, but I do know that it was inaccurate. At least I think it was. And we can't get to the bottom of what happened here in this setting, in a meeting, in a hearing, frankly controlled by a political friend and ally of the mayor. That is not intended to be an insult or offensive. It's an observation. In fact, it would taint the very inquiry into what happened here, why the Home Rule Charter has the provision that it does. That permits us, I'm going to read it because it's very short. The council may, by majority vote, make investigations into the affairs of the township and the conduct of any township department, office, or agency, and for this purpose may subpoena witnesses, administer oaths, take testimony, and require the production of evidence. That's what we need here. We need a fair and impartial hearing where evidence can be taken under oath by lawyers who know what they're doing in that process. And I would submit, by the way, we should not put our own solicitor in the position of doing any of that because it would necessarily involve him and his firm in a conflict since they were chosen and supported by and appointed by the mayor. Again, that's not anything personal. That's not an insult or certainly not intended as such. It's just an observation that it would be a conflict. I submit that an entirely independent outside law firm with no connection whatsoever to anyone in township government now or in the past should be immediately hired, engaged to conduct this investigation and call witnesses under oath, take evidence, take testimony. Nothing less will do for our residents. They deserve it and we owe it to them. I submit it is the duty of everyone on this town council to get to the bottom of what happened here so that it will never happen again. We need answers and explanations about how our sanitation department could have developed such an outbreak of this disease such that it had to be shut down for 2 weeks. What if it happens next in another department? How about the police? Are we going to shut them down for 2 weeks? The fire department. This is a disaster, and I'm calling for this investigation.
Okay. Councilman Silva? There you go.
Yeah, I feel like this is seems like adding a burden to our township to fund an investigation into something that I think has a very reasonable explanation. There's a respiratory-based illness, which is national in scope, across the country, which is highly contagious. And certain members of our sanitation department contracted this illness, which actually isn't terribly shocking considering part of their job is going around from all around the township to a disease that could be transmitted by touch, picking up plastic trash cans across the township. They received it. Our administration took immediate action to quarantine all the members of the sanitation department for fear that they would not further spread this illness. I'm not sure how we would need to bring in a law firm or have some giant investigation, something sounding ridiculously expensive, I might add too, just from my own limited dealings with attorneys. But yeah, so that's really my whole point. That's all I have. I'm sorry, I don't see the logic or the reasoning, and I certainly wouldn't want to burden the township with the expense of such an investigation. Thank you.
Okay. Any other council members wish to weigh in on this? Councilman Tunis?
Yes, thank you, Council President Wentz. I just want to make the public aware that 3 of my colleagues released a letter calling for this investigation. There was no email or no call to the 7th District Councilman, and I would assume for a majority of my Democratic colleagues. This letter referenced the 35,000 people, the three individuals that signed it represent. I'm sure this is an issue that's affecting beyond that group, and those 35,000 people are very important, but so is the entire township. And a lot of the questions I've been getting asked is, Councilman Tunis, did you see this letter? Did you decline support? Did you support it? Well, the answer is I was never notified. So the question, and you can see how a lot of people might perceive this as another political game. The three of my colleagues that signed that document are all Republicans. That's no secret to the general public. There was no contact made. So my question is, if this was such great concern to you, why was there no contact made to the entire council, not just select council members? And I mean that with all due respect, because when you see things like this and you get these calls in your township and you don't hear from your colleague, you find this via social media, it doesn't come off like this is something that's good faith or has good intention. It comes off as another political circus. And I do not want any of the people I represent to think that of you. So my question is, why were we not notified?
Councilman Wagner, did you want to answer that? Councilman Bonnet, I do see your hand. Did you want to answer?
Yes, I'd be glad.
I'll let Don go.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you. Thank you. In all due respect, Councilman Tunis, I, among the other 2, I signed that letter. I am, as each one of the other 2 were, representing our districts. In that we cited the number of 30-some thousand people that we represent. It didn't go beyond that, although that's not to say that people elsewhere in other districts don't concur in what was said. What we're trying to do is bring to light answers to questions that have not been answered. I have written a letter and an email to the mayor. The letter on August 7th, which was quite detailed, a follow-up email on August 16th. I haven't gotten an answer to either one of them. And thus that leads me to be more concerned about the process that was undertaken. And I do cite in my letter that the consequences that we've experienced are a result of a lack of a plan. There was just no plan in place for what was inevitable to happen. With the number of persons that we employ, it was very likely that someone, if not many, were going to be infected with COVID-19, as it so happened to be, and that we would have to quarantine an entire division or department, which we did. And by the way, we're not taking issue with the fact that they were quarantined. That was the right thing to do. That's what we had to do. And we have to do that to protect people. I am also very concerned that we do not have an effective, or we did not have, maybe we will going forward, did not have an effective plan to protect our workers. I've been questioned by many people in my district about why do we have 3 people riding in the cab of a trash truck, and they're touching each other. These are people that violate effectively the governor's directives. We have
with all due respect, my question was in reference to the letter. Why were we not notified about the letter?
Why would we be? We sent it to the mayor. But anyhow.
But you called the 2nd district and the 3rd district.
President.
I would like to call the question, if anything, because this is another political stunt. This is another political stunt. And it's very clear to the general public.
All right, hold. Councilman Tunis did ask a specific question. And I was calling on you to answer it because you indicated that you would answer. Wait.
You said, why would we? So you're telling me you wouldn't contact the 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th district council members, council at large? We cannot govern like that. We cannot govern that way. If your whole thing is based on communication.
You're not listening to my answer, Councilman Tunis.
You took forever to get there. I just need the answer.
Of our constituents. We're not trying to rule you out in any way.
It seems like it.
Unfortunately, I'm sorry you feel that way, but that wasn't our intent. Take that from me, please. But in any event, I support the call for an investigation. It could probably take many forms, but it has to be an independent investigation to get the answers that we've asked have not been answered. And not just us. We have a lot of community members, a lot of citizens, a lot of taxpayers that want these answers. They want to know where we're investing, how we arrived at the process that was undertaken. Why wasn't it in place to begin with in anticipation? So I think at this point, I am fully in support of a need for an investigation of the process.
Madam President, I make a motion to table.
Second. No, what?
There was a motion to table in a second. You must then call the vote on the motion to table.
Yep, I gotcha. Yep, I'm sorry. To table.
I'm sorry, Solicitor, you want to just explain what the yeses and nos are on the motion to table?
If the motion to take yeses and nos, there would be a motion to table Councilor Wagner's motion to do an investigation. So if you vote to table, you do not want the investigation.
Thank you.
Madam President, before we proceed with that, may I just add an answer to Mr. Tunis?
No. No, because we're at a motion to table and we must deal with the motion to table. There is no, unless you have a comment.
I'd like to second that motion.
The motion to table was made by Councilwoman Billups and seconded by Councilman Blackwell. At this point in time, the only comments that you can make are on the motion to table. So if you have any comments on the motion to table, you can say at this time, but you can't comment on the original Councilman Wagner's original motion because we're in a motion to table. Okay.
I'll comment on the motion to table then.
Okay. So, okay. So I see Councilman Wagner and Barnett and Gwynn on the motion to table question. Okay, Councilman Wagner on the motion to table.
Very briefly, just with respect to the motion to table, I'm going to remind you all, people of Upper Darby are watching. And as to you, Mr. Tunis, I'm sorry. I'll give you a copy of that letter if you'd like to sign it. I'd love it if you signed it. I have nothing further to say.
I agree with you, Councilman Wagner. People are watching.
Yeah, people are watching. People call. They see these things. My only thing in regards to
Guys, council
okay.
members.
You're right. I should only be speaking about tabling. She's absolutely right. I'm sorry about that.
We're on motion to table. So Councilman Bonnet, did you have a comment on the motion to table?
I do. And when a motion is tabled, it's implied that it's going to be taken up again. Should that motion be approved, aren't we just postponing the issue? Are we going to take it up again? Is there a date which you would like to include, Councilwoman Billups, to rediscuss the original motion and act on it?
Well, people would have to bring it out of, if it's motion to table, it's table permanently, and unless someone wants to revive it. So.
So Laura, Madam President, I'm sorry.
Sure.
President. So can I withdraw the table and call to question then?
Yes, you can. Yes, you can. So we've called a question. Councilman Silva, are you seconding the call to question?
Yes.
Okay. So we're shifting to table to call the question. A motion to call the question. So Phillips and Silva. So we're gonna vote. So questions and current.
Oh, I can't.
So hold on, guys. We got a lot going on. So just to clarify, because we were in a motion to table, she withdrew the motion to table. So this is a question to our solicitors. Just make sure I'm following it correctly. And then we had a call, and she chose to do a call to call the question. Do we need to do a vote on the action of stopping the conversation to call the question?
Yes, there's a vote on the call to question, and then a vote on council, or if the call to question passes, then a vote on Councilor Wagner's original motion, up or down.
Okay, great. Just want to make sure if you want to end the discussion and just vote on the original motion, then you want to vote yes. If you want to continue the discussion, then you vote no for the call to question. Okay? Okay. So all those in favor of calling the question signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, say your name. Okay, everyone. Wagner is opposed.
I think we should continue the discussion.
Okay. Everyone else supported everyone else supported it. So it was 9 in support of calling the question and 1 against. Okay. So next up is the original motion. Sorry, just flipping my page over.
And that is Councilor Wagner's motion under Section 314 of the Home Rule Charter to initiate an investigation related to the trash situation and the employees in Upper Darby Township. And that was his motion.
Yes, thank you for the clarification of the motion. At this point in time, so we need.
If you vote yes, you want an investigation. If you vote no, you do not want an investigation.
Okay. So those in favor of an investigation signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
And those against, say your name.
Yeah.
Laura.
Hafiz Tunis.
Bob Quinn.
Hafiz.
Sadiq.
Sadiq. Bob.
Michelle.
Councilman Matt Silva.
Michelle. Silva. Blackwell. Okay, and then just to verify, our yeses were Wagner, Barnett, and Burke, were you a yes or a no? Okay, sorry, I couldn't hear you. Burke. Okay. Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So 8 no and 2 yes. The motion does not carry. Okay, so moving on, we are moving to the Finance and Appropriations Committee, co-chairs Councilman Gwynn and Silva, council members Blackwell and Burke. We are going to get our treasurer's report from Treasurer David Heyman. I did email it to everyone prior to the meeting. So David Heyman, Treasurer, please come back on board to give us our report. Thank you.
Thank you, Council President Wentz. Good evening, everyone.
Good
Thank
evening.
you for letting me put this off for a couple of weeks. We had time to get it together and check the numbers. So the report tonight really addresses council, but also your constituents, to make sure that people kind of understand how the budget works in brief. I don't spend a lot of time on social media because, quite frankly, I don't really know how to use it. But I have seen a lot of misunderstanding going back and forth about this, and concern that taxes are going to be raised and that sort of thing. So I want to try to give it some perspective. So I'm going to basically read the report that I gave you. So each year in October, November, and as the mayor said this evening, it's starting budget season. So they're going to be starting to talk about next year's budget. And so council starts to plan, the administration starts to plan for what the budget's going to look like next year. This past year, in late 2019, the township budget was set for $82,305,280, not a dollar more, dollar less. And very simply stated, it means that there's a plan to collect and spend, and this is simplifying, but to collect and spend $82,305,280. And that's what we call a balanced budget. We're going to plan to collect, and we're going to plan to spend the same amount of money. So that's the budget. That's the plan. You know what they say about plans, right? That's laid plans. Once the new year begins, however, revenue and expenditures can start to diverge from the budget. Things like, I don't know, economic recession, worldwide pandemic, they start to play into the real numbers, and the administration then has to adjust and work in real time to try to keep control over the budget and address all these challenges that face them. And that's what they're doing. So at the end of the year, we may have, if we collect more money than we spend, that's called a surplus. And if we spend more money than we collect, that's called a deficit. And part of I think the misunderstanding in the general population is that that you think that if we run a budget deficit, that is somehow going to affect taxes for next year. It is not the case. What affects taxes is the planned budget for the coming year. How much we plan to spend, how much we think we can collect under the current tax regime, and then adjustments are made for the budget. So people should not be concerned that this recession, the pandemic, or so on is causing the township to spend more money than it is bringing in, because that's not going to affect future taxes. We have sufficient cash reserves to backstop if something doesn't balance out this year. So I kind of wanted to get that clear, and then go with some numbers here. So thus far this year, as of the end of July, we've collected about between 76 and 77% of our revenue that we intended to collect for the year based on the 2020 budget. We've spent about 50.48%, the way I calculate it, call it 50% of our planned budget. And we've banked a lot of what we've collected, we haven't spent yet. So that $21,331,639 is sitting there available for us. And then according to my projections, We've got about another 19 to 20 million left to bring in. We've planned to spend, again, based on the original budget, to spend about 42 to 43 million more. So it kind of looks to me at this point like we're short about $1.8 million as we sit here today in terms of revenue against expense. Nothing for people to get worried about. I can't explain. I can only explain what I see. I can't explain why this has happened. You'd have to ask those questions to other people for that. But I just wanted to put it into perspective. And we do have sufficient cash reserves that if we go over like that, it's not going to threaten the township financially in any way. Don't want to see it, right? None of us want to see that, but it's not going to be a threat to our long-term viability. The second part for council, and the second part of this was a summary of these numbers. So what I'm doing is I'm taking at the end of every month, we produce a end of month and and at the same time year to date expenditures and collected revenues. And then what I have to do, and I have to admit out of an awful lot of ignorance, is look at what I think we're going to spend and try to project that forward. And that's where I'm coming up with these numbers. So that I could be wildly off, I don't know. But looking at May and June and July, as I've made these reports and looked at the numbers, I think we're consistent within reason. So there's nothing that's jumping all over the place or jumping out at me that I'm concerned about. Let me see if there's anything in there I think needs to really be pointed out other than what I already did. And I don't see anything else. I think those are the highlights. There's a second part to my report. Councilman Burke, at the last time I was here with you, asked me to look at the year to date and isolate the labor expenses, and I also provided that as a supplement. So I'll go over the highlights of that. And again, this comes from the same information that I get at the end of each month. So the labor costs I broke out into categories of wages to earn the money people earn, the insurance that we pay health insurance, we pay life insurance as part of the benefits plans, the pension obligations that we have and that we plan to fund this year, and then the payroll taxes. And for most folks, you would recognize payroll taxes if I said FICA, because we all, as we earn money, pay FICA taxes. There's two parts of that. There's our Social Security retirement benefit we pay into, and we pay into the Medicare pool. Okay, so those are the four things I broke out. And as it looks right now, on the wage portion of this, we're really, really close to budget. I got us below budget by $90,000, but in the scope of an $82 million budget, that's basically a tolerance for error. So I think we're right on for wages. The insurance and the pensions, I'm estimating that those costs are what they're going to be. There's not a lot of variability in that because of a flu pandemic or a recession. The question I have about this is the payroll taxes. Those FICA taxes, generally speaking, because it gets complicated how they're actually calculated, are 7.65% of payroll. That's the way it works. Now, there is some adjustments for people making over the Social Security wage base, but basically, you're looking at 7.65. When I'm looking at the estimate for Social Security payroll taxes, is that it comes out that it was actually a 4.57% estimate for what that was going to cost, is leaving us $1 million off, or leaving me $1 million off on the payroll. Now, here's something I don't know. I'm a newbie at this game too. Is that there are in certain local governments people who are not covered by Social Security, and if we have people on the payroll in Upper Darby Township who are not covered under the Social Security program, then that 4.57 number might be right. I don't know the answer to that, but I wanted to throw it out there because if we don't, I'm concerned about the estimate on the payroll tax. And that would summarize, and I hope I answered Councilman Burke's question. If not, just get back to me. And I'll go back in and try to dig out whatever he was looking for. That concludes my report. That's it.
Great. I just had one question. if we are able to get reimbursed for COVID-19 expenses, that'll just definitely just help us out, right?
Of course it would, absolutely, sure, yeah.
Okay, just, and did any other, Councilman Burke, did you have something you wanted to ask? Go ahead, because you did, go ahead.
David, thanks for your report. And yes, that answered my questions from the last time we spoke. I appreciate it.
Okay, great. Great. And all of council did get his report just before the meeting. His report will be added in the minutes for this month as well, so that the public will be able to see it once it's posted on the website. Okay, great. Thank you very much.
Be well, everyone.
Thank you. All right, so up next, we have resolution number 26-20. So this is a resolution that did come to us last month. I discovered when I was reviewing the video of our meeting from last month for minutes purposes, I discovered that I made a huge mistake with this resolution. I did not make sure the resolution was moved and seconded, so therefore all the discussion and the vote was invalid because it had never been moved and seconded. So once I discovered that, I reached out to council, to our solicitors, and to the mayor and CAO to let them know my mistake so that we were able to resolve that problem. It also did affect the resolution for appointing Deborah Nifong to tax collector, but it turned out that we were changing that this month anyway with a resolution that we will be speaking about next. So it didn't affect us as far as that resolution, but it did affect us as far as resolution number 26-20. The resolution itself did get the version that we're discussing for today did get the corrections on it that we had made from the previous meeting, even though the vote was invalid. We just fixed those mistakes. We were having some problems. So I just wanted to let you guys know that in advance. So if we can get a brief from Solicitor Richardson on resolution 26-20.
Sure. Thank you, Madam President. Let's see. Okay, so
we did have a couple versions floating, so.
I'm sorry. No. I have it in front of me. Thank you.
Awesome. You're welcome.
So this is a resolution of Upper Darby Township, Delaware County, authorizing the submission of the application for funding from the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania Redevelopment Assistance Capital Program, RACP, grant of $1.5 million for the purpose of redeveloping the 7,000 Walnut Street property as community center. Whereas Upper Darby Township is desirous of obtaining funds from the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania's Office of Budget in the amount of $1.5 million for the redevelopment of the township property owned at 7,000 Walnut Street. Whereas the township is the sixth most populous municipality within the Commonwealth and borders the largest municipality in the Commonwealth. And whereas the township does not currently have a community center, whereas blighting influence exists due to the deteriorating condition of the current building. Whereas this council believes it is in the best interest of the township to apply for the RACP grant and utilize the funding to further efforts to create a community center in the township. Now, therefore, be it and is hereby resolved by the Upper Darby Township Council that is hereby adopted and resolved by the authority of the same as follows. The township is hereby authorized to apply for, execute, and submit a grant application to the Pennsylvania Office of the Budget for the Redevelopment Assistance Capital Program, RACP, and is successful to accept the grant funds to be used for the project as detailed in the grant application. The township is authorized to provide such assurances, certificates, and supplemental data or revised data that may be requested in connection with the application. So is my reading, Madam President. Thank you.
Awesome. We need a motion.
Make a motion.
So we have a motion by Ms. Blackwell. Councilman Gwynn, is that a second?
Yes.
Okay.
I do also have a question.
I understand. I just wanted to make sure I didn't make the same mistake twice. That's all.
I know.
Okay.
My question.
So Councilman Gwynn, go ahead.
My question is very simple. And I think we confirmed this the last time, but just to reaffirm it since we're now into this, is there any matching portion that the township must come up with to meet the cost for the building?
CAO?
Yeah, so there's not a specified match in that sense. It's not a matching grant, but the RACP, the RACP grant does require investment from the township. It's not a grant that would cover the full cost of the project.
What is the percentage or what is the amount necessary?
Well, that's something that we'll see through the process, right? So we don't, we've just commissioned the feasibility study. And so we don't know what it's going to cost to build the building. We've gotten some estimates, and that's why we've put the grant request at 1.5 million. But as we get into the process and have the public hearings, we'll sort of make those decisions about what we can actually afford to build in the project.
So there's no percentage match that we have to put in to get the grant?
I will double check. I think there's a cap on how much of the project the RCAP can fund, but there's not a matching percentage of the type that you're describing.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions and concerns on this, on resolution 2620? Councilman Siddiq, you got to unmute.
Seconding.
Yes, I was asking the question that the building we have it there, 7200 Walnut Street. What will happen the existing one? Are we making the whole new building or how it will work?
I'd like to chime in here. So Councilman Siddiq, when we put out the request for bids for the feasibility study, one of the requirements or guidelines we asked for was, can we keep this building that exists already? Or does it have to be knocked down to build something else? So part of what they're going to do is assess whether or not the existing building, the Welcome Center / they do some the senior Meals on Wheels there, right? That operates out of that building.
Yes.
So whether or not that building can be repurposed or whether or not it has to be demolished. Because the way we see the general plan for that site, and it's very small, right? Very small site, relatively speaking. It's like 0.3 acres or whatever. So we don't see it being a one-story building. We see it being a two-story building at least, possibly 3. And then the top story being a community garden or, a green roof or something where we can use it too, right? It won't be covered, but so part of what the firm is going to find out is whether or not we can actually use the building that's there right now. So it's you have a question?
Yeah, no, it's not a question. It's community, it's a high demand of community center around here. So keep that in mind. And I think it will be nice to have demolished and building whole new things from the ground.
I think it's going to be great. It's going to take a couple years to get the study done and find the financing for it. And this, what you're voting on now is part of us finding the financing to make this dream come true. So.
Thank you so much to bring this project to next to my district, District 7.
Thank you. Also love the fact that we're considering a green roof / garden, community garden on the top. That's awesome. I mean, yeah, ultimately essential. And then also if they're and with a green roof, we would get environmental at least in the past, there have been environmental grants that you can get because of the green roof status. And if a community garden could be a part of that, that would be really incredible, because that's an area that greatly needs a community garden in that part of our township. So wonderful. All right, so are there any other questions or concerns on resolution number 26-20? Seeing none, all those in favor of 26-20, please signify by saying aye.
Aye. Aye.
Say your name.
No, Tom Wagner.
Oh, Wagner, okay. Okay, so 9 yes, 1 no. Okay, the motion passes. Thank you. And then our next resolution is resolution 33-20. And if we can get Solicitor Richardson to give us a brief.
Sure. Thank you, Madam President. Okay, this is a resolution of the Township of Upper Darby, Delaware County, appointing Gary Maron, Director of Finance as Tax Collector by Chief Administrative Officer Vincent Ragioni, pursuant to Section 504 of the Home Rule Charter. Section 504 of the Home Rule Charter provides that the Chief Administrative Officer has the right to designate another township official to be tax collector. And the Home Rule Charter provides that the appointed individual shall have all the powers and perform all the duties and be subject to all the obligations and responsibilities of collector of taxes levied by the township. The Chief Administrative Officer desires that the tax duties of the tax collector be delegated to Gary Maron, Director of Finance, and the Director of Finance is bonded by Fidelity and Deposit Company of Maryland and Zurich Insurance Company of America until 2021, and council desires to ensure that the duty of tax collection is properly delegated. So now therefore be it resolved by the Upper Darby Township Council that Upper Darby Township Council approves the confirmation and appointment of Gary Maron as tax collector by Vincent Ragioni, Chief Administrative Officer. There is an inconsistency clause and a severability clause, and effective immediately. So is the reading, Madam President.
Great, thank you. Sorry. Can we get a motion to approve resolution 33-20? I saw Councilman, I did go around and mute everybody. So I did see Councilman Gwynn and Councilwoman Blackwell first. So Gwynn on the move and Blackwell on the second. Are there any questions or concerns on this resolution? Okay, seeing none. All those in favor of resolution 33-20, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say your name.
No,
Wagner. And Councilman Barnett, you need to unmute yourself.
Aye.
Are you in? You're in. Okay. So 9 yes and 1 no. Okay, motion passes. Great. And then next up is the Planning, Zoning, and Building Code Committee. Co-chairs are Councilman Gwynn and Council members Gwynn and Billups. Yeah, Council members Barnett and Tunis Jr. Can we get, so we have resolution number 34-20. If Solicitor Richardson could give us a brief. And you are muted. You need to unmute yourself.
Thank you, Madam President. Yeah, I think
that what you're offering and what you're bringing to people and providing has more value than.
We have weird sound in the background. I've just muted everybody. Okay, so Solicitor Richardson, go ahead. There you go.
Thank you. I appreciate it. I'm sorry. I'm just having some difficulties with my computer, which has been going on all night. I apologize for that.
No, that's all right. So resolution 34-20.
Thank you.
Okay, go ahead.
Thank you. Okay, thank you. Okay, Madam President, this is a resolution of the Township of Upper Darby appointing Deborah Nifong, Deputy Director of Finance and Community Development, as a certifying officer for the United States Department of Housing and Urban Development by Mayor Barbara Ann Keffer pursuant to Section 403 of the Home Rule Charter. Section 403 of the Home Rule Charter provides that the mayor may delegate to an appropriate delegate the responsibility of representing the township in deliberations with other governmental bodies. The regulations of the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development require that the township have a certifying officer to carry out the responsibilities of 24 CFR Part 58.13. And whereas Deborah Nifong was appointed as the Deputy Director of Finance and Community Development June 22nd, 2020, Mayor Barbara Ann Keffer desires to delegate the responsibility of certifying officer with HUD to the Deputy Director of Finance and Community Development, Deborah Nifong. Therefore, be it resolved by the Upper Darby Township Council that pursuant to Section 403 of the Home Rule Charter, Deborah Nifong shall serve as a certifying HUD officer and assume all duties required by the Charter, Administrative Code, and the laws of the Commonwealth of the United States. So when's the reading?
Great, thank you. Council members, please unmute your microphones.
I'll make the motion.
Okay, thank you.
Seconded.
Oh, I heard Tunis first. Okay, great. Are there any questions or concerns on Resolution 34-20? Seeing none, all those in favor of 34-20, please signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, say your name.
I'm Wagner, no.
Okay. So 1 no and 9 yes. So the motion passes. The resolution passes. Great. So next up is old business. Does any council member have old business to bring to this meeting? I am seeing none.
I do.
Oh, wait. Okay, Councilman Wagner.
I think it is appropriately discussed in old business now at this point. I asked for an investigation tonight. You all said no. That's an extremely disappointing thing, not just to me, but to the people that you are sworn to serve in Upper Darby Township. And I think the council did a shameful thing tonight, congratulating itself and the township's government for a host of things as illustrative of our current situation as bringing a herd of goats into town, and virtually no substantive or meritorious discussion at all about the disaster that has been going on in this township for more than 2 weeks, while we have maggots in our trash and rats all over people's driveways. This is a terrible situation. It should not be allowed to just slip by in this manner. So I'm very disturbed about it. And I believe that a great many people in the township are very disturbed about it. That's all I have to say. Thank you.
Okay, any other, go ahead, Mayor. Mayor, go ahead.
Quickly, I also have gotten a lot of calls and emails about the way the trash was picked up. And I think we all have to bear in mind that we are in a pandemic. If you had an investigation, if you could get enough votes to actually have one, I have nothing to hide. The decision was made in conjunction with our Human Resources Director and the union leadership and also the Public Works Director. So we're not trying to hide anything. It was a little bit of a preemptive step, perhaps, but we worked really hard to work around it. It was also very inconvenient for me and everybody on my street because we just got our trash picked up. I think it was yesterday. So I didn't get any special trash pickup. I like everybody, and actually Councilman Wagner, we're in the same collection zone. I found out in the last week. And so, I mean, I know it was inconvenient. It's very frustrating. And like I said previously, this is really a tough time for a lot of people, losing their jobs, being financially insecure. Nobody really knows what's going on with the schools, except, all the kids are going to be at home, apparently. It's really hard. So this just added on top of it. And there was the unfortunate timing of the natural disaster, of the flooding that happened here, which increased the amount of trash that we had. So, if you want to, you can rail for an investigation and all that. I don't know what it would bring. There's nothing to hide. So that's what I would like to say.
CAO.
Sure. Thank you, Council President. I just want to point out very quickly to bolster what the mayor said. Every single question that has been asked about this in executive session, in public session, in any forum whatsoever, has been answered. So I think it's just important to note that calling for an investigation is fine, but every question that's been asked has been answered, and that practice will continue to be followed. Yeah, that's all.
Councilman Siddiq had his hand up. And Councilman Gwynn, and I see Councilman Bonnet. Wagner, I do see your hand, but I have to let other council members go first. So, Councilman Siddiq.
First of all, my deepest sympathy to our sanitation department and with their family, and my prayer with them that they can safely come back to work next Monday, which is 24th. Regarding the trash, many places they pick up. Some of the places, very tiny places, don't pick up, which is manageable. And people need to understand, we receive, I believe all the council members, they receive a lot of call, and depends on how we explain to the people, how to explain to our constituent. So I did my best to explain them what happened and what will happen and how we can come up with this mess. So I really want to thank our mayor and our CAO to how they manage it, the situation. And also I would like to thank our whole township management and as well as the Delco emergency management, how they quick response with the flood in 69th Street area. I'm eyewitness with the trash can, the big commercial trash can, and then the mattress and the plants is flying down. As soon as the water goes away, the cleaning department, sanitation department, and the other emergency management, they clean up all these things. So this is one good thing, and people appreciate that one. And I also, as a council person, would like to appreciate all this emergency management, including our police department. Regarding this trash, as an elected official, as a councilman of District 6, I would like to apologize to our constituent. If anything inconvenience for the trash pickup, please accept my apology. And in future, we'll try to do better management. It is all about understanding each other. This is our township and we have to work together. And as a councilman, I have a trash in my home too, to whom I am going to complain. This is the way we have to understand each other and move forward each other. This is the best for our township. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilman Gwynn, you are next.
Yes. I'd like to say I thank the administration for what it has accomplished in this, dealing with this issue. It's not an easy one when you're faced with HIPAA, contractual agreements with unions, and your own thought of what you want to accomplish. You have to prioritize and you have to move ahead and work with what you have. There may have been better solutions, but that person that has the better solution didn't step forward and communicate it in any timely fashion. So she did what the best thing that she could. I hope that when we start to look at what we have to do when these guys do come back, that we give a little bit of recognition and appreciation to have them back and what they're doing for the township at all. They are as valuable a first responder as we have on a day-to-day basis in our communities. We're going to have many people have a large amount of yard waste from grass clippings or work that they may have done, as well as trying to clean up. Some have flood damage items that have to be taken care of. So you're going to have to budget maybe keeping the dumpsters there to accept overflow and target specific things, but you can manage this. The biggest other problem that we have is communicating. We have in the past tried to develop this platform and have it communicated out through YouTube, but we need broader platforms because people don't involve themselves with it. They don't get the daily times. They aren't in Delco Alert. We have to do a better job of selling this concept of enrolling in Delco Alert so that they can get the accurate, up-to-date information that the mayor is trying to relate to them. That's all I had to say, and thank you.
Okay, thank you. Councilman Burnett.
Thank you, Madam President. I have a number of comments, but I do have a question for the mayor. Would you describe what we can expect next week? Are we going to have twice a week pickup with the Wednesday recyclables collected as well?
Well, it's not going to be twice a week pickup. There's going to be staggered schedules, and recycling will be picked up next week. CAO Rangioni, do you want to also comment on that?
No, I mean, I think that covers it. We will have recycling next week, and we will be on the regular winter schedule, if you will, for once a week pickup.
Why are we not going back to twice a week if we're going to have the crew back?
Okay, I'll take this. We lobbied very hard to keep the staggered schedules and to keep once a week pickup through the pandemic. We all have to remember we are still in a pandemic. As much as people might have fights about whether or not they should wear masks, whether or not it's a hoax and all that stuff. When things were going in a very cautious way, and I would rather be cautious, not just with this, but with our budget, I think it's better that we just do once a week consistently by our guys as we ease back into, out of the quarantine is better. I mean, just that's what I'll say.
Well, the robocalls that you've been frequently posting would lead most people to believe everything was going along real well. Promises were being made that trash that was not picked up from a Tuesday would be picked up on a Wednesday. Wednesday came and went, the trash was not picked up, nor was it picked up on a Thursday or a Friday. We have had people missed 5 times, 5 pickup days were missed in my district. People are not buying into the idea of what your robocalls are trying to present, that things are okay. People are very, very unhappy about what has happened. And CAO Rangioni, you said that all questions have been answered. I'm still waiting for responses to 2 documents that I sent in, one a letter and one an email to the mayor, copying you. I have not gotten any answers to that. So my question is to the mayor, are you going to be free to answer these questions that are presented from a council member, namely me, perhaps Councilman Wagner, any other council member, with the details that we request? Do we have to file a right to know request to formally get these answers in the detail that we expect? What is your answer to that?
Well, let me, I'm really glad that you brought that up, because the one email that you sent, that you signed a letter, you and Councilman Wagner and Councilwoman Baralia, you sent it to me after 4 o'clock on a Friday, and then it was within the hour posted on Facebook. So no, I will not respond to that because it's not a serious inquiry.
That's not what I'm talking about.
You did not CC the other council people, and you just use it as some sort of weaponized bat to beat me over the head with, which is fine. That's great. But please don't expect an answer. That's not going to.
Well, first of all, you should have answered that
inquiry.
as well, because it was written on behalf of our constituents. But they're not. That's not the letter I'm referring to. I'm referring to a letter I wrote to you on August 7th, and an email I believe was on August 16th, both of which were not answered. I have a number of questions. So when I send them back to you, are you going to answer them?
What are we doing here right now? Do you have questions, or do you want to make a spectacle?
You want
just ask the questions.
Spectacle. I'm going to ask if you will answer the questions that
We're just trying to demonstrate that you're acting in bad faith. Just ask the questions.
Would you, my question is, will you respond? I'm going to put together a series of questions that I'm going to send in writing, and I would like to have a written response. Well, you're going to do that.
So I will give
You're
you.
going to put them together, or you already put
I
them
already
together?
have, but I will, in
No,
addition to
I'll
that,
give
I
you
have
the-
others.
Councilman Burnett, I'll give you the same courtesy that you gave me when I was on council, which is
There you
when I
go.
emails to everybody on council. You would call me and tell me not to send the email, that I should just make a phone call. So if you actually really want an answer from me, you can make the phone call just like you asked
You
me.
know, I don't recall that, but
President.
you know.
It's
Oh,
not-
you don't recall it.
This
What
is
a
not
joke.
the time to change
Mr.
up things.
Angioni, your comments are not solicited at this point. You're not a council member. I have a conversation going with the mayor, please.
Yeah, and you're not the council president anymore, so you don't decide who has the floor.
Can we move
I
forward,
already have
please?
the- I already have the floor, sir. I already
Can we
have
move
the
forward?
floor.
10 o'clock.
So,
Laura.
yeah, let's.
I already have the floor. So
Councilman,
back to my question, Mayor.
Councilman Burnett, your question has been asked and answered. Your question has been asked and answered
I
by
do
the
not
mayor.
think so, Madam President.
I do just recall her saying that if you had specific questions for her, you can call her. So that is asked and answered. So at this point in time, I would like to move on to Councilwoman Billups had her hand up. And then I do have Councilman Silva as well. Councilwoman Billups, go ahead. And then Councilman Wagner, I'm still have you on hold because of making space for others to speak. Okay, so Councilwoman Billups, go ahead.
I forget my response. What were we talking about?
The trash. The trash.
Oh, yes, yes. Thank you. So I had a comment about the trash. So first, I just want to thank all the sanitation guys, you know, and that worked to help to pick up the trash while our usual guys were on quarantine. So I'm very grateful to them. And I hope the ones that are coming back on the 24th, you know, come back well and healthy and some kind of way practice social distancing. So I appreciate that. The comment that I have is, you know, I do empathize with everyone that had issues with their trash, you know, because I had issues with my trash too. And I get it, I understand. And I think we're all trying to do the best that we can. And so that's it. You know, I empathize with the residents of Upper Darby. You know, I don't think people want trash in their backyard and the smell of trash, you know, and I get it, you know, unlike some other cities that had trash for a very long time. Upper Darby only had it for, a few weeks. And so hopefully moving forward, we will come out of this, excuse the pun, smelling like a rose. But I just appreciate everyone and everything that they have done. So, and thank you for picking up my trash today.
Great. Councilman Silva?
Yeah, it was very helpful with the Delco alerts. They were like, obviously things were changing very quickly over the course of the last week and a half. And having the Delco alerts was very helpful as far as knowing when trash day became trash day. So I urge everyone that's still watching, if that was a concern, which I know for many people it was frustrating, to sign up for the Delco alerts. It'll text you on the phone, it'll call you, it'll do like 5 things at a time sometimes, but it'll give you the information as it's occurring, which is super helpful. You don't have to log into anything or do anything else like that. So I found that very helpful. And the only other thing I'd like to say is for my job, I've had to quarantine, and I had to, and actually it was even worse when my wife had to quarantine for when she was sick. So my heart goes out to the sanitation workers who had to go through this. And I hope that when they come back, they realize that they're the best defense against getting this virus in any way. And I hope they take it seriously, and or more, seriously enough, and follow the protocols and the PPE that they have to, because I know it's, because I work with a bunch of guys, and it's the logic is, oh, like, why do we got to do all this stuff? But when you're in quarantine and you realize that you're doing this to protect yourself, your family, your friends, people you care about, your children, then a lot of times it really comes more into focus. So my heart goes out to them. I know I'm concerned too for the residents who were inconvenienced by this, but remember, it's an inconvenience. Like this, like a disease like this, we don't even know what impact it has on your entire life. So please bear that in mind. I understand it's frustrating and I understand it's aggravating, but sometimes we have to think beyond ourselves a little bit. So that's all I have to say. Thank you, Council President.
Great, thank you. Is there anyone who has not spoken that wanted to speak on this? Okay, Councilwoman Blackwell?
Yes, so I would like to say thank you.
Oh,
can you hear me? You can hear me now? Okay, so thank you to the sanitation workers. This is a pandemic. Everyone is impacted. When they come back, we realize how much of value that they are to us. And if we can, in the meantime, not throw our masks down on the ground, if we can take and put them in the trash, it would also help as well to stop the spread of this pandemic. And I do empathize with everyone who has been impacted with the trash. It's inconvenient, but we survived 10 days. We did it. Upper Darby stuck together, and we were as positive as possible. Thank you.
Great, thank you. So anyone else? Okay, so I'm gonna go before Councilman Wagner because I haven't gone yet. I haven't gone yet in this conversation. Okay. So I just wanted to thank everyone. There were a lot of people that helped us in collecting data it was a fluid situation as workers started last week discovering how the trucks worked, what it took to do the job. I don't think we really realized what an amazing sanitation crew we actually had within our township to its fullest understanding until they weren't there to do the job and others had to come in to do that job. Bus drivers that stepped up to become drivers, thank you. You all are amazing. And then all the workers that came in to help. One of the key people in helping to make it successful was Ms. Dobbins. She rocked it out as far as organizing all the streets that needed to be covered when not all streets got done on a given day. She and the mayor were camped out at the sanitation yard. They sent me a picture about it, of them working there, which made it really obvious that, they needed help gathering information. There were a variety of council members, other residents driving the streets to verify if trash had been picked up late Saturday night, late Sunday night. I was looking on Facebook for wherever people were commenting that their trash was not picked up. I would message them and say, hey, give me your block number of your street, and so forth, and constantly communicating with them through Messenger for those who responded back. So thank you for everyone who participated in the solving of the problem. You all are amazing, and I greatly appreciate you. And Ms. Dobbins did an incredible job, and I know she was working hard on it today. And I know that it's not the ideal situation. It's not the perfect situation, but I think our community came together and worked together to accomplish the best possible resolve in the end. They brought in extra help. They brought in the people we needed to do. And Saturday night, Sunday night, Monday night, they're collecting trash at 9 o'clock, 9:30 at night. That's a hard day, especially if they had to come back at 7 o'clock the next morning. I do heavy lifting for a living. I am well aware of the physical demands and how difficult it is to be able to get back up after 4 to 6 hours of sleep to go and do it all over again. So I greatly appreciate everyone who helped to make that happen. I know it wasn't the best situation. I know it wasn't ideal, but I really appreciate how our township came together to solve it. So thank you. I do see CAO and the mayor, and then we'll return back to Councilman Wagner. So CAO, please go ahead.
Yeah, just really quickly. I know you very graciously thanked everyone involved, Council President Wentz, but I did want to just throw a few names in there who deserve special recognition, along with Ms. Dobbins, Joe Martin, the Director of Public Works, Nick Palmer, and Kevin Colgan, along with Allison and the mayor, really formed the core. And Megan Kovaleski, our HR director, but Joe Martin, Nick Palmer, and Kevin Colgan really, distinguished themselves in picking up the slack and getting this taken care of.
Great, thank you. And Mayor, you wanted to weigh in?
No, I would just second what CAO Vince Roncioni said, and despite what's going on in this meeting, I think that we've heard from a number of residents we never heard from before, and people appreciated having the dumpsters, and they appreciated seeing that we were trying to work around the quarantine. So I know it's not ideal. I know this burden, it's just on top of everything else that's going on for a lot of people, but we really made the decision and have worked around it to get the best possible outcome from all this. So hopefully the next time that we meet, things will be back to normal and we can go on to tackle other problems in the township. So
great thing, and clarify the COVID-19 normal.
Yep.
Because that is our normal now. Okay, great. Councilman Wagner, it's all you, man.
Thank you so much. I'll be brief. I've lost track now of how many people I just heard describe the last 2 to 3 weeks as an inconvenience. This was not an inconvenience. This was a disaster. The most substantive thing I've heard the mayor tell us tonight is that we're going to be visited soon by a herd of goats. Well, the people on this council have turned yourselves into a flock of ostriches. You have stuck your heads in the sand in trying to pretend that this is just an inconvenience. It's not. It's way more than that. And I hope your constituents will tell you that loudly to both the mayor and the chief administrative officer. you've sat here smugly, I would say, and said that you'll answer any question. We've answered questions. What are your questions? You were asked a direct question 2 weeks ago at the last council meeting we had. That question went directly to what was the state of the health of our township employees. And you gave what I believe was a very inaccurate answer. I don't know why it was inaccurate. Maybe you didn't know what you were talking about or something else. I just don't know. That's why I have asked for a formal investigation. I can't get answers that I trust or that I rely upon in this setting. Good night, everybody.
Well, I'm very sorry that you feel that way. The answer that I gave to that question was true when I gave it, and it remains true today, which is that the township employees are being affected in roughly the same percentage and manner as the population at large. So everybody has seen an uptick, and we were seeing an uptick, and that's what I said. It was true then, it remains true now. And that really explains it. And I mean, I don't think, I just disagree with a lot of the editorial characterizations. I mean, we're not being smug. A lot of people have expressed empathy and sympathy and understanding about the frustration. So I just disagree with a lot of the editorial comments that were made there. And I do also want to point out two other people, Bill Harrison and Eric Long, also have been incredibly helpful in the process of organizing the fill-in crews and setting the protocols for the local 234 workers. So those guys have also been, extremely helpful and deserve recognition.
Great. And also to point out that we did have supervisors supervising the dumpster sites as well. And we had at Naylor's Run, we had an operator for front end loader that was helping people getting their trash out of their car and putting it in the dumpster and then mashing down the dumpster. So I mean, there were so many people involved in helping us to get back on track. And I'm really glad that we are in that direction. So thank you, everyone. Is there anyone else have anything else for old business? Okay, seeing none, I blocked my thing. Then new business, does anyone have anything for new business? Okay, hold on, I'm sorry. Bonnet. And then Gwen. Okay, go ahead, Councilman Bonnet.
Thank you, President Wentz. Members of council and Mayor, I have been asked to read a letter that was sent to all council members. This letter was written on behalf of the Upper Darby Township Executive Fire Committee. That is a committee made up of representatives of all the volunteer fire companies, basically the chairman of the board of each, the chairperson of the board of each of the individual fire companies, the individual chiefs and presidents of those fire companies make up. They constitute the Upper Darby Township Executive Fire Committee. They submitted this letter at the July 15th meeting. It did not was not read at that time, and they resubmitted it tonight for reading at tonight's meeting. But as it were, the half-hour provision was invoked, and their letter was one that was not read as a result. So here it goes. I'm going to read this that was sent to every council member by the Upper Darby Township Executive Fire Committee. Dear council members, it is with great disappointment that the Upper Darby Township Executive Fire Committee, consisting of the chairman of the board, chiefs, and presidents, write to you in an open forum tonight. As long-standing members of both the community and the Upper Darby Township Fire Department, we want you to be aware that the mayor and CAO have not responded to repeated requests, either from the individual stations as well as to formal requests from the Executive Fire Committee via certified mail to the CAO, Vincent Rongioni. We initially began the year understanding the new administration would be working to get established. And in March, we understood the pandemic interruptions. We know now that the administration did not stop in communications to other organizations. We also were disregarded on PPE protection and, in fact, a denial of coverage for disinfecting the stations by the interim chief was met with frustration and concern. The reduction of over $30,000 to each organization without notice, along with a publication of a chief's opening, again with no notice or input. The final cause of concern is the deletion of the requirements of having 3 years combination experience in the fire department to take the civil service entrance exam, a long-standing opportunity for our community members to become firefighters in the Township of Upper Darby, where they serve. This lack of communication has brought us to the Council for Assistance. As one may understand, having all this decided without discussing or meeting with the Executive Committee is disrespectful to the firefighters who serve as volunteers. Upper Darby Township is considered the largest combination fire department in Pennsylvania, with a Gold Star rating from the Fire Commissioner of Pennsylvania's Gold Star Safety Initiative program. We have worked hard to assure fire safety in this township, and we dedicate ourselves to maintaining that efficient service. We are requesting a meeting with the Public Safety Chairman, Mr. Burke, the CAO, and the mayor within the next 15 days to go over several topics, one of which is the budget and our longstanding relationship with the township. All 5 companies are charter companies, most with over 100 years in service, providing fire protection in Upper Darby Township. The individual companies provide a great service to the township, and we wish to continue our excellent working relationship. Also, be advised, the July contributions due July 1, 2020 to all companies were delayed and received August 12th, 2020, and the August payment due August 1st, 2020 has not been received as of this communication today. This places a final burden on our company's payroll and finances and further erodes the relationship with the township. If you recall, the administration removed $30,000 per station and did not authorize the 3% 2020 budgeted increase for the months of January and February. And this is submitted sincerely by Edward Kubler, past chief and chairman of the executive committee. And I have to say that this letter has been updated to incorporate the payments from August 1st. It has been updated since it was submitted in July. So having read that, I would ask that the mayor and CAO Rongioni contact the chairman of the chairperson, Mr. Kubler, and arrange to meet with them to discuss their issues.
Councilman Bennett, when you started the letter, you indicated that it was sent to all council members.
That's what I am told. Yes.
Okay, I never received it. I'm not sure.
Did anyone else not get it?
I did not get it.
I did not get it.
Yeah.
All right. I will pass.
I don't think council got it.
I will pass that.
Yeah,
back.
I didn't get it. I didn't get it either.
Okay.
Okay.
And I guess one other correction too is there's 2 chair people for the Public Safety Committee. It's Councilman Burke and also Councilwoman Blackwell.
Very well. And I'll duly note that. And it's very possible too that they consider this submitted to council members as a result of having submitted it at the July 15th meeting when it was not read. So it could be my misinterpretation that it was mailed and it was not, perhaps not. So having read it tonight, I can ask Mr. Kubler to send it again to you, Mayor, to all council members, and to CAO Rongione to be sure that everybody has a hard copy of it for your own reference.
Great, thank you.
Thank you.
Did anyone want to weigh in on it, or?
Wait till I see it.
Yeah, I'm right. I mean, we don't have it, so we, okay. So anyone else have new business? Oh, I had Councilman Gwynn for new business. Okay, go ahead.
Yes. I think we need to develop a plan as to what we're going to do when we finally do get these inoculations that are proposed to fight COVID-19. I know we don't have a health department in either the township or the county. But
we have a health department.
Well, a health department that would assist in the administering of this and the organization of how we do it, what we're planning to do with regards to the police, the fire, the sanitation groups, and how we're going to get things out for them, and what we do for the community, and how we're going to handle our 82,000 people that would need this. So it's something that I think we ought to look to start planning and developing with the hospitals and health organizations in Upper Darby.
Okay, so just a mental note to start the wheels turning on. I mean, we do have, the county does have a health department through Chester County, and I'm sure the county will be working on the plan as well. And yes, it would be good for Upper Darby to work on establishing a plan. So we'll connect with, I'm sure our Public Health Committee will meet with CAO and Mayor to start that conversation. Is that
one
cool?
of the, one of the other issues that I want to bring up is if the county, Delaware County, decides to go ahead and put voting boxes in the township building, what we're going to do with that time-wise, and as well as where you plan to put it, something to look forward to here for the election, November 3rd.
Right, right. Okay, we can look into that. Okay, anyone else have any new business? Okay.
I do.
Go ahead.
And I don't know if anything can be done, you know, because of where we are with the pandemic and everything. But someone reached out to me about the Highland Park area. So I don't know who takes care of that grassy area. They said the grass is really high and it needs to be mowed. So I don't know who takes care of that. I don't know if it's the township or if it's someone else, but and with all the rain and everything, it's been overgrown. Let me say that. So I don't know who takes care of that.
Is that, sorry, just to verify, is that Westchester Pike grassy area along Highland Park, or is it like the playground? The park.
The park, yeah.
Parkview playground.
The park.
Yeah.
Yes, the Parkview playground has gotten a little high, but I was gonna reach out to the CAO about it tomorrow. I just figured we had a lot on our plate for our sanitation situation. So, but yes, great. So you were talking about Parkview Park.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. And then Councilman Burnett, you already spoke. Let me just verify that no one else has any new business before we wrote back to you. So does anyone else have any new business? Seeing none, go ahead, Councilman Burnett. You gotta unmute yourself.
Thank you, President Wentz. Again, like as Councilwoman Bilge said, we have a number of those locations around Upper Darby. I communicated with the mayor about Dermine Circle and other small pieces of common grounds around Upper Darby Township that need a lot of attention and are left to be overgrown. I received a lot of comments from the Pilgrim Gardens area and people that live in that area about the unsightly conditions of what is known as Veteran Circle or Dermine Circle, either or. And it is a gateway into Upper Darby from another municipality. And, we need to keep them maintained. And at one point in the previous administration, we had private contracts let for the maintenance of these facilities, and they were kept in impeccable condition around Upper Darby Township. And at this point, the mayor has chosen to do that with our township staff. And, I'll certainly stand by and look at the opportunity, the conditions that are resulting from our own staff doing that work and reserve comment. And I think it's certainly worth the attempt to do it with our staff. And but we need to maintain, we need to stay on a regimen to keep these properties, these common grounds up to date in terms of maintenance. And it's not just cutting grass, it's keeping the grass from growing through cracks in the sidewalks. It's undergrowth around bushes and trees. It's mulching around certain types of vegetation. So there's a number of things that have to be done on an ongoing basis. And it really has to go, it goes right to the image of Upper Darby Township. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any other, anything else? Okay, seeing none. We are adjourned at 10:30 p.m. Thank you all very much. Have a great night.
Thank you. Good night.
Thank you.
Thank
Bye.
you.